And we're on the same side. And you didn't change. So that's Alex over there.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter. Who cares?
I'll just delete that.
Oh, okay.
I'll delete both of these.
It's driving me nuts that I can't see that. That must drive you nuts.
Yeah,
too.
you're going to be able to see it in a second.
Yeah.
Once I...
You gonna rename it?
I'm just going to get rid of it.
I think you need a projection screen.
Yeah.
You know?
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Well, there's gonna be a TV up there. I'm gonna hook it all up to that.
Okay.
Okay.
So when he does something on the
So-
laptop, I can see it there. I don't have to look. At it.
Oh, there we
I
go.
hope that wasn't bad.
Hey, how about you pull it back this way a little, so I'm not choking on the line.
Yeah, would...
There you go. Maybe a little further. Maybe a little further
Yeah.
back. So I'm
I
not
look like a
choking.
monster. Look at you.
I know.
Well,
Compare.
you kind of are a monster. You're a cryptocurrency monster.
Yeah.
Okay, let's...
This is our
we'll
first
just
guest.
not
Our first guest on the podcast. So we have to sit on the
First
same
guest?
side.
Yep.
Yeah.
We used to sit on the same side before, then we switched. So I had to sit where Art is sitting right now. So we didn't punch each other.
By the way, this is Art.
Now I'm going to punch this guy, and you can see it all happening. Yeah. So yeah, just so everybody knows, this is Art. Art is a longtime friend of mine, and he's what we call a resident expert with cryptocurrencies. He's been in the space for quite a while, and
Definitely knows
yeah.
more
So he knows.
either of us.
He knows
And so we're going to talk
a
about that,
lot.
especially
I know a little bit. Not
with the current
Well, he's
not a lot.
being
situation
modest.
with
Yes.
Bitcoin plummeting.
Yeah. Certainly has been.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Not unusual.
No, it's very volatile.
It's very volatile. It's very cyclical, and
We are live on Rumble as well, for sure, and YouTube, so we are multi-streaming right now. So that's awesome. We're doing great.
Okay, so we'll get started with slight introduction. Like I said, we already kind of
Okay, well, why don't you introduce yourself and sort of explain what you think about cryptocurrency, how you kind of got started, what you're doing.
yeah,
Where
I just
you're at?
yeah, I just kind of got started. I'm an investor, anyways. I've invested in different types of stuff in the past, different types of stock, venture market. Alex and I both are into that, and just kind of tripped myself into Bitcoin, and been in that space since 2016 as an investor.
Tell them the funny thing I always say about when we first looked at cryptos.
Oh yeah,
Bitcoin, yeah.
yeah.
I remember the call. I made the phone call to you. So you ever seen this thing called Bitcoin?
Yeah.
I'm watching it on MSNBC right now, and you're like, no. I'm like, yeah, it looks weird. And then I don't know if you looked at it right away or anything, but I remember you saying to me, oh, it sounds stupid.
Yeah.
You're like, that sounds like a fad or something. I'm like, I don't know. It's weird. They're doing this whole expose on it at the time. It was trading for like $5 a Bitcoin.
It was definitely cheap, and I didn't think anything of it because there was different iterations of it before actually Bitcoin. A lot of people aren't familiar with that. I think it was called either eGold or eCash, and there was a couple of other different iterations of Bitcoin. But Bitcoin was sort of the first cryptocurrency where it was decentralized, and the first sort of cryptocurrency of its type, as opposed to the other ones, which were centralized. So that was the kind of defining difference.
Why don't we do this before we get right into that? Why don't you just quickly explain, if anybody's watching this, what a cryptocurrency is, how sort of Bitcoin started the whole thing. Just give it a little bit of a sort of overview on that. Anybody who's watching and doesn't understand, because I know a lot of people that say.
Yep.
And maybe why it is maybe something people should consider looking into.
Yeah,
Very
I mean,
least.
cryptocurrency really is just software, but I mean, it's sort of been accepted as a medium of exchange, since its inception, since its growth. The white paper came out in 2009 by Satoshi Nakamoto, which is a pseudonym, and we don't know who it is, if it's one individual or it's a group of people. Basically, their white paper described a peer-to-peer system, a method of payment between people using nodes on what's called a blockchain, if people are familiar with that. And basically the transactions on the blockchain are validated by people that are on the blockchain. They're called nodes. So like if you hold Bitcoin, if you have a miner and you're on the blockchain, you are become what's called like a node. And basically you verify transactions. Once something is confirmed, it needs to be verified by the nodes.
I think that's where you're going to lose a lot of people, though. When people ask me about Bitcoin or about cryptos in general or Bitcoin, they always say, I don't get the blockchain. I don't get this mining situation. So they don't understand what that is. So maybe touch into that a little bit and And explain a little bit of what the blockchain is and
Yep.
how mining sort of relates to that.
Yeah, so if you have a Bitcoin miner, before back in the day when Bitcoin first started, people used to be able to mine Bitcoin on their laptops.
And mining is
Mining is basically it's a complicated mathematic sort of
You're doing
calculations to verify transactions.
You could technically mine Bitcoin on paper, I think.
I
I think you can do the math. I think someone has done it, but like, you're not going to make any money.
that's weird.
You're not gonna
yeah. So basically, it's sort of like a race to complete the puzzle as a miner to get a reward. And so when Bitcoin first started, the rewards were 50 Bitcoins per block. Each block is mined every 10 minutes. And then they have this halving period every 4 years, approximately 4 years, where it gets halved. So it went from 50 to 25 to 12.5. Now we're at 6.25. They're saying the next halving is in 2024. So I guess to simplify things, if I'm on an exchange, I buy Bitcoin from the exchange. It's basically like the stock market. You have buyers and sellers. You can actually set it up in such a way that you can put limit prices and what you want to pay for it. So once I buy Bitcoin from someone, if I buy Bitcoin from you, it gets broadcasted to what's called the blockchain. And the blockchain are the miners, the people that have these miners, which initially started as laptops, and now people have complicated mining rigs, and they're competing with each other to solve basically the next block of transactions. And so the way that transactions get confirmed is you have to have a certain amount of validations of that transaction. So if I buy Bitcoin from you, there's a certain amount of those nodes that actually have to approve the transaction, and that gets broadcasted to the network. And the beautiful thing about it is it's open, it's transparent. Everybody can see it. If you go on Blockchain Explorer, you can see all the different transactions that are on there. So it's completely transparent. You can't have any bad actors. And once that block gets sort of created, you move on to the next block.
Okay.
And that's how you get rewarded as a miner.
Right.
You solve those transactions.
Okay.
It's like a certain amount of work, and then once the block is mined,
It's
the
called
coins get distributed evenly.
It's called proof of work.
Yeah.
There's two different systems. There's proof of work and there's proof of stake. Proof of work is you're using mining machines, whereas proof of stake you're doing like a consensus group. Like if I stake my coins, for example, Ethereum's moving to proof of stake. They're proof of work, but they're moving on to proof of stake. But Cardano, for example, is proof of stake. So people that hold Cardano, they stake their coins into the community, and basically they act as sort of validators or nodes. And they get rewarded through staking rewards by doing
Is
that.
that analogous to like a loan?
Yeah,
You earn interest on a loan.
Yeah, and you can pull your coins out at any point you want, and then you can join staking pools. You get a certain percentage. Some of them pay really well. I know Cardano pays. I know in Binance, when they were still operating in Ontario, if you lock up your coins on Cardano, you're getting 9% APY, which is not bad.
It's better than pretty much anything else you can do. Right? It is a volatile thing, right? But
Yeah.
you're not going to loan anybody money for that as a private individual.
No, exactly. And then the thing is, like with inflation now, it's 6.8% or 7%, what it is, and you can't. Well, it's kind of getting sidetracked. You kind of can't be in like treasury bills and money market funds. You kind of have to be in something a little bit. It's forcing people to basically put their money into more volatile things because you have to outpace inflation.
I think we talked about this last week, where it's like the current financial system is just completely broken, right?
Yeah.
It's completely in shambles, and so people are looking for alternatives, and that's why cryptocurrencies are,
It's considered a hedge, but I mean, I am a maximalist, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist to some extent, but I do like altcoins. But I think as much of it as it is a good thing to be in it, you still have to be very wary about it. But that's
right.
I guess that's any investment right now. I believe it's a hedge, but once things start unraveling and once things start crashing, this will crash as well. Gold will crash, stocks will crash, everything's going to crash because people
all backed by real dollars.
Which
well,
is
for now.
maybe happening as we speak.
Yeah,
Right.
but the thing is, like, the reason everything's going to crash is because at that point you want to liquidate everything and get your money out,
That's right.
right? And
That's
even,
what I mean.
Yeah,
Because it's backed by real dollars,
Yeah.
right? Like if this were like, because there's fiat currency, right? If there weren't fiat currency and this was pre-fiat currency, then maybe it would go down differently. But because we still fall to fiat currency, you're using fiat currency
Sure.
to buy.
well, it's an accepted medium.
Right.
It's still an accepted medium.
You're right.
But I mean, this, like I said, I want to reiterate to people, it's not a complete safe haven. Like this is gonna, like when the effects of 19 hit back in March of 2020, everything crashed. There was a flash crash, if people recall, including crypto. But what they're saying is, and what I believe is, sure, everything's going to crash, but the recovery, I believe it's going to recover quicker than other assets. Because what's going to happen is, I think this is just my opinion. I think this whole crash precludes the use of CBDCs in the future, central bank digital currencies.
I saw an article the other day of how I think it was the Federal Reserve is doing like a survey to kind of gauge public perception on that.
Yeah.
A federal, like a Fed coin or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, the equivalent of a Fed coin. Canada has the same thing. If you look up Project Jasper, which a lot of people aren't familiar with, it talks about CBDCs because it's gonna come. It's happening. They have it in China. You look at the Renminbi, which is their currency. They have a digital currency now.
So is that the one? I remember hearing something about something in China, but I don't know anything about it. Is that designed to depreciate with time to encourage spending?
Basically, the government,
because they're communists, they don't want people to evil to hoard.
It's really designed to do what the government wants. Because the problem with the CBDC is it's government controlled and centrally controlled, so they can manipulate how they wish. They can increase supply, decrease supply.
Same as fiat currency.
Same with fiat currency. Yeah. And the thing is, like in my opinion, I have personal issues with it because of privacy.
Yeah.
What they're going to do is, and the whole. This is, I guess, getting into sort of like a conspiracy theorist type of thing. I think the whole point of CBDC is control.
That's all we talk about on here, conspiracy theories.
I think it's
a good 70% of it.
I think the whole thing is about monetary control and
because they're seeing this whole new market emerge and they have absolutely no bearing over it whatsoever. You see certain governments kind of step in. China's done some stuff. Russia now is talking about banning Bitcoin mining, I think.
Yeah,
and it's like. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
None of their controls really do anything, and so I think that maybe
it's a wildfire.
Scaring them.
Well, China's been trying to ban cryptocurrencies. They were talking about it for years. Now they banned mining. Back in July of last year, 2021. So if you look at, there's one metric. There's a good metric to test the health of Bitcoin out in the public. It's if you look at the hash rate of mining rigs, basically just the terahashes. So terahashes basically represent the amount of miners that are on the network. So what happened is. You see it like steadily increase in 2001. It was kind of going like that. Then China said we're banning Bitcoin. It plummeted, but then it's been increased again. So what happened is there's about 40% of the mining rigs were in China. So they banned it, and the reason they were in China is because of cheap electricity costs, right? So they banned it. And they said, okay, fine. So we picked up our miners and we shipped them somewhere else. They went to Texas because Texas got really cheap energy. They went to Canada because it's cold. They went to Iceland because it's cold. Because the thing is about mining, it generates a lot of heat. So you want to go either to an area which has cheap electricity costs. You go to an area that has cheap energy costs, or you go to an area that's cold. So the terahashes, they plummeted, but it started picking up again. So that tells you that go ahead and ban it. Russia, go ahead and ban it. The miners should just move somewhere else.
Yeah, like I said though, I think it's basically a wildfire now. Like if they caught this early, if they thought this was going to be something and they caught it early, they could have really kind of quelled it or taken heavy control over it. But they let it go for a long time. Yeah, and it basically caught. And now you're seeing there's so many different cryptocurrencies out there. It's ridiculous. And now it's like you either jump on board this train or you miss it. Yeah, and I feel like that's what the governments are doing now. They're like, we got to get on this thing. Yeah, and we've got to now spin this, like you said, using these CBDCs, which originated basically in China with their control. Yeah, they're doing out their social credit scores and all that kind of stuff.
It's going to be a social credit system, I believe. I believe CBDC is going to be structured. Cash transactions. If you want to do something for someone, cash, forget it. Because the thing is,
look at COVID. They're doing that now.
Well, I mean, personal cash transactions. Yeah. So if I pay you to build me a deck, and I give you $1,000 for you to build, if you outlaw fiat, and you have CBDCs. Unless we have a barter system, there's no way we can transact. Yeah. And they want to capture each transaction so they can tax it. Yeah, that's unbelievable. Which is my opinion, fiscal sort of repression. Yeah, and repression of freedoms, really.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think one of the big questions I get with cryptocurrencies, like a lot of people are nervous about getting money in and then getting it back out.
Yeah.
Like they feel like it's easy to get the money in, but it's a lot harder to get the money out. How would you address that? What would you say to that?
It depends which country you're in, and depends which exchange you're using. I know Canada, they have CoinSquare, they have Netcoins. It's basically you do an internet transfer into a CoinSquare account with fiat. You buy your cryptocurrencies. You send it to like some other market if you want to buy other coins. Because the thing is with the Canadian exchanges, they have such a limited amount of coins that you can buy. So what people often do is they'll use it as sort of like an onboarding ramp, and then transfer it somewhere else. Because the thing is, like, certain other exchanges, they're somewhere globally, they don't accept Canadian funds or U.S. funds. So you kind of have to onboard it at this point in your own country, and then send it somewhere else. And getting it out, so it's the same thing. You send it back, and then you do like a transfer into your account. So it's not difficult getting it out. It's just, I think the problem is it's not completely ubiquitous crypto, like throughout the entire world at this point.
Yeah.
That the ease, it's not easy getting it in and out, but you can do it.
Yeah, I think because I remember that was one of the things that made me nervous a little bit at first too.
Yeah.
But there's also the idea, me being a sort of a strict, almost an old school financial guy, if you will.
Yeah.
Because I haven't caught up with the times fully yet. For me, I'd be looking at taxation, these kinds of things. So because you're putting that money in, and it's all traceable, money going in. Now money coming back out is just as traceable the other way because it's going through electronic means, right? It's not like there's no cash transaction that's happening. It's all electronic transaction that's happening. So the growth on that money, is that going to be taxed?
Yeah, it's in Canada, it's taxed as capital gains. Yeah. Any disposition of crypto, any switch into crypto. So if I buy Bitcoin, transfer to a different exchange, buy a different crypto, that's considered a disposition. So the swap actually into a different crypto, if there's a net gain or loss, that's considered a transaction as well. So basically, but if you buy and hold it, it's like a stock. If you buy and hold the stock, you don't sell it, then there's no
It's
tax.
unrealized, right?
It's unrealized gains until you actually sell it.
Until they tax unrealized gains.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're talking about that too. But it also depends though on depends where you have investments. So if you have investment in an account, in a bank account or something, you get a T5A, which is a tax
receipt.
Tax receipt for that.
Yep.
So there's nothing like that when it comes to.
No, because the thing is, banks don't control it. The exchanges control it, and there's really very loosey goosey, if you want to call it, regulations at this point.
Yeah,
I think as much as people don't want regulations, and I'm kind of an advocate for both sides, I think it's going to be a good thing, because I think in the United States, the thing is, like, if you have a fund, if you're a large fund, right, there's a certain amount of risk allocation that you can actually put your money into, for your customers. They just can't buy crypto. A lot of them want to. Yeah.
But they can't put a certain percentage of their portfolio can only be to certain different things.
Yeah, especially if
they're forced diversification, right?
Yeah, they're forced into a situation where they can't buy crypto just because it's too risk adverse for their clients. Yeah. What legitimizes it is basically when you have something like a Bitcoin ETF. Yeah. That's backed. Yeah. Which you actually see in Canada. You have several ETFs here. Which is the whole criticism about the United States. Why there isn't more mainstream adoption of crypto is because of what's going on in the United States. When it's actually funny because they have 330 million people. It shouldn't be such a large representation. They shouldn't be such a large weight in the industry, but they are for some reason. Because you look at Asia, I mean, crypto's more mainstream there. I mean, it's and there's a far excessive amount of population there, and for whatever reason, the United States has a lot of influence in the market. Yeah. But I think you legitimize it when you have a structure, when you have like ETFs, and it's going towards that way because even last year, Congress approved banks to actually custody crypto. So that was the first. They actually said to banks, you guys can custody this stuff. So, I think they're trying to work with the banks because I think they can realize the taxes that they can gain from this stuff, right? Why kill the golden goose? Why not, why not support it and tax it? Mm-hmm. I think that's their strategy. And you wouldn't give banks the powers to custody the crypto if you have no intentions of moving it forward, in my opinion.
They've been doing that for years with everything, right? Like they did that with alcohol. They did it with tobacco. They do it with everything. They realize they can't control it, so they regulate. Same with weed. Yep. The most recent, essentially, they can't control it, so they legalize it, and they tax the shit out of it. Yeah. They have a certain amount of suppliers or distributors of that, and they tax those guys. Right?
Well, it's back to your point. Like you said, they didn't catch it early, and I think their intention was when Okay, this is just kind of, it's a nice little fad. It's going to kind of disappear like the different iterations before Bitcoin. It'll just sort of snuff itself out, and then people started buying it. And then, then people are buying it. So what? Like the real first mania was at the end of 2017 where Bitcoin ran up and then crashed early 2018.
Yeah.
That was more, average holders, people getting in on it, getting in the mania, and then the classic sort of, people are buying at the top and then just crashes and a lot of people are selling. What happened afterwards, it traded sideways for a little while, right? Kind of consolidated, and then institutions started getting on board. That's the difference now. Yeah. Before you had the retail investor, now you have institutional investors. And it's kind of funny because you look at a company like JP Morgan Chase, their CEO, Jamie Dimon, he said he was completely against Bitcoin. He even said, if any of my employees own Bitcoin, they'll be fired. Now, he's a big proponent of Bitcoin. Now his company holds Bitcoin, and they manage, I don't know, I think JP Morgan 3.2 trillion under assets. So they're involved in it. Other big outfits are involved in it. So obviously,
you have companies like Tesla. I think 2% of their cash.
They're the second biggest holders. They're the second biggest holders of crypto, like a Bitcoin in the world.
$2 billion or something that Tesla holds, or something.
It's actually, I looked it up, the top 10 the other day. It shocked me. Tesla's the second biggest holder, with MicroStrategy being the first. Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy. Wow. But yeah.
How much is what's the market cap now in?
Bitcoin.
I don't know if you know what the market cap is for all crypto. But what is just like
it was, as of yesterday, it was 1.9 trillion. Bitcoin's 750 yesterday, but it dropped 750 billion. Sorry, but it dropped. I think it's probably around, with the drop today, it's probably around 670.
I think I have it right here.
Just so anybody that's watching knows, the U.S. economy
is in shambles.
No, yes. Yeah, I know. What's the U.S. economy's GDP? It's
GDP's the debt to GDP is about.
I mean, what's the GDP? It's
about 22 trillion a year.
Okay, so 22 trillion. So
their debt's 30 trillion.
But that makes up basically 10% of the GDP of the whole of the U.S.
Yeah.
And you're saying disproportionately, U.S. Citizens hold more cryptocurrency than.
No, I'm not saying they hold more cryptocurrency. I'm saying for whatever reason they have more influence.
Oh, okay.
To be honest, that metric, that's something I haven't changed.
Know,
no, you could know it. I just haven't checked it. Because the thing is, like with Bitcoin, everything's transparent. Everything's on the network. So you can actually see, which countries hold the most crypto. And that's something. But here's the case for Bitcoin, right? So I'm using yesterday's number because it crashed a little bit today.
Yeah.
It's probably around 660, 670 market cap. That's the price, though.
I'm trying to pull it up right now.
Actually, I got it right here.
I can't believe that MarketWatch doesn't have the market cap.
Go to livecoinwatch.com.
LiveCoinWatch. Let's try not to mess the screen. I don't have this up on the screen, by the way, so no one can see this.
Oh, all right.
For everyone out there, livecoinwatch.com. It'll give you a good idea of the market caps of all the different cryptos that are on there. But here's a case for Bitcoin. So I'm going to use yesterday's numbers. So it's 750 billion market cap. All the assets in the world, everything, basically real estate, gold, all the different metals, all the different securities are 706 trillion. That's the estimate. Yeah. So $750 billion, right? And you look at the overall assets, and at 706 trillion, that's 0.
That's a tenth of a percent. Right?
That's a tenth of a percent, right? You look at gold. The market cap for gold is 11 trillion. Yeah. So it's about 12 times or so, something like that, less than gold.
Yeah.
So I think this is showing all cryptocurrencies have a market cap of 1.7.
She was 1.9 yesterday. So, yeah. So Bitcoin
200 billion in a
Bitcoin market
688.
cap 688.
Okay, so it's close. Yeah. Okay, so let's use 688. Let's use 700 just for mathematics.
So I'll pull it. I'll open this up for everybody to see.
Yeah. So a tenth of a
percent of all the assets in the world. So.
Yeah. So you're saying it's under? You're saying it's underutilized still?
Well, think about this though. Like, is it really a stretch to say that, with it as it being a hedge, that it could go to 1%? I don't think it is. I think it could go to 1%, no problem. You look at the gold market; it's at 1%.
The issue is it stopped correlating as a hedge recently, right? Like now, Bitcoin, the markets are going down. The dollar's getting less value, and Bitcoin is collapsing. At least like today, it's collapsing, right? It's up.
You know what it is? It's you know what it is. It's overreactionary market, and basically the way Bitcoin reacted is basically the Fed stating they're going to start tapering.
Yeah.
You know, with their quantitative easing. So that basically shits on everything. You know,
See,
shits on equity, shits on Bitcoin. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. But this is my sort of devil's advocate argument with Bitcoin and cryptos. You know, I'm a proponent for them. I do like them. I liked them as a hedge at one point. But I feel like now they are too much. They're no longer a hedge. They are too tied to the fiat currency. So when you see the fiat currency drop, you see this happen. It's tied to the stock market. It's tied to everything.
I have a bit of a counterpoint to that.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe it's almost like a phase where it at a certain point, you know, like maybe recently we have a lot of uncertainty, right? No one really knows. Is the market going to go up? Is it going to collapse? You know, is it going to be flat for a year or so? And so maybe in the uncertain environment, maybe Bitcoin trades as more of a corollary asset to the markets. Maybe in more certain times, like what we might be seeing now is a transition into a clear bearish market overall. Maybe that's going to lead, Bitcoin is going to plummet at first, like it usually does. And then people are going to start picking up on it again as like, okay, let's put our money over here, and then Bitcoin's going to go up and diverge at a certain point. As markets continue to go down, maybe Bitcoin's going to flip around the other way and become that hedge again.
Yeah, but see, my whole issue though is because then if you do want to take that out, you're still trading it back for fiat cash.
Oh yeah, because I mean that's what we have to transact.
That's what I'm saying. So
until you have mass adoption,
right?
Sure.
And that's what I mean. So right now it's like you're getting in on it, but let's say, and this is a real legitimate scare and real legitimate worry that China at some point will tank the U.S. Economy.
Sure.
Because right now the U.S. economy is a ship and it's taking on a shit ton of water, and if the Chinese stop bailing,
some might argue it's underwater.
Yeah, if the Chinese stop bailing it, it's going under.
I don't think.
So in other words, if they take their money in all of their banks, all their U.S. dollars, and they call back their debt, essentially, they say, "Hey, we want to cash this shit in," it's going to tank everything.
Of course.
And that could happen now with some of the instability that's happening with Russia and Ukraine, because
right.
You know what I mean. So if that ends up happening, it tanks everything because the whole idea with Bitcoin or cryptos in general was that it was away from money. It was decentralized. It was on its own. It was its own thing. But it's almost like it's overpromised that idea, but underperformed on it because it's so attached to fiat currency.
Well, this is my argument. I don't think it's attached to fiat currency. I think it's just attached to economic and world conditions. You know.
But I mean, if you take so if you were to take fiat currency away tomorrow, what are you left with as far as crypto? Is it worthless?
Well, no, because that becomes the reserve.
Right.
That's my argument. Something has to.
Exactly how
something,
you buy it or anything.
Something has. That's true.
So then everybody that doesn't hold it right now
yeah,
are out of the loop.
Yeah. The thing is, like, you have to.
I'll trade you stones for crypto.
You have to.
A few stones.
Yeah.
You have to on board with fiat to buy it, of course.
Yeah.
You know, there's no argument there, of course.
See, that's my fear, and that's why, like, for me, as far as I like real estate, number one.
Yeah.
And that's when you look at it now. You look at like all the like guys like what's his face, Bill Gates. Yeah. One of the top landowners now, and they're all getting on board like that because they I think they understand the crash is coming.
Of course.
And they understand that although you're going to want some cryptocurrency just in case this thing does something, really it's going to's real estate.
Well, that's tangible assets that
I've always
exist, that are there, that you can touch, you can feel, you know.
Right.
You can work. Bill Gates he's the majority farmland owner in the United States, right? That's land that can produce, you know.
Even with the metaverse, like even with this bullshit that's happening with the metaverse and stuff, you're still going to need a physical place for people that are plugged into the metaverse.
Of course.
Just like the Matrix, they still needed pods to be plugged into.
Of course.
So you need space for people, right?
See, I don't want to...
But it's less space, you know, like you can build you can just take a skyscraper, right?
And load up 10,000 people.
Just load it up with pods, maybe even more, right? With just the amount of square footage and just have people in the
Like, what would you need? You need an 8x8 room, basically, with like a shitter? Or maybe not even.
Well, it depends how plugged in you are. You might just need like a coffin-like device that like suspends you in fluid and provides you with nourishment.
We should touch on that later because I know a little bit about the metaverse too.
Okay.
But I mean,
metaverse is kind of related too.
I just want people to know that I am a proponent of Bitcoin. I'm maybe a maximalist, even though I do like other altcoins. Basically, Bitcoin's maximalist is basically somebody that completely believes in Bitcoin only. I'm kind of a blend of both, even the altcoins and the Bitcoins. But by no means do I think that you should allocate most of your assets to it. You know, I think there's a really good documentary that I sent you, Cryptopia, where one of the guys in there, he's basically owns a Bitcoin company, a trading company. He says he makes a really good point. He says, I think there's the first mistake you could do is put basically all your assets into Bitcoin. And he says the second mistake that you could do is put nothing into Bitcoin. Yeah. He's like, put a fraction of what you'd put, let's say if you were going to go on a vacation, with someone, let's say you put that money aside and you say buy a little bit of Bitcoin, because the thing is, there's no other asset that is as asymmetric as Bitcoin. The thing is, like, an asymmetric to people, what that means is basically that can appreciate as quickly as it can. There's no other asset that has that kind of track record of being appreciate wildly like that. So, my thing is, why not put 1 or 2% of your portfolio, and that's it. And the bulk of your portfolio should be real estate. Should be equities. Should be gold. Should be art.
I would almost argue against even equities and such. I mean, obviously,
right now,
obviously I have all that stuff, and I mean, because it really isn't, unless you have a certain amount of money where you can actually. Funny, you got that. You caught it on his camera. This one. If you have a certain amount of money where you can leverage that to buy real estate or some type of hard assets. I know that you're a proponent also of hard assets. Hedged hard assets, and when I'm talking about gold,
hard
silver,
assets or hard ass.
hard assets. He's probably a proponent of both. But unless you have the kind of money where you can actually take it out or leverage against it to buy real estate or hard assets or these kinds of things, you're kind of stuck leaving it in those.
Well,
so if somebody's got, let's say, you're a regular person, I'll use numbers that I know based on when I was a financial advisor. Essentially, an average person, if they weren't in their eyeballs, up to their eyeballs in debt, would have like between $50,000 and $100,000 basically invested money. And you'd see that across the board, like as far as almost age didn't matter, because you'd get people that were young, they saved very early and they accumulated a lot, and then you'd get people that were in their late 50s, early 60s with the same amount of money. But that doesn't have a lot of leverage power, buying power, any of that. It really isn't a lot of anything. But it's hard for them. It would be hard for them to get out of that and put it into something significant or make a significant holding into, say, Bitcoin.
Well, that's my whole argument. Don't put a significant holding.
No, when I say significant, I don't mean like significant based on how much they have. I mean significant in general. Like 5 to 10 or 20,000. It
all depends, right? Significance varies on the person, right? So.
But if you had a couple thousand, let's say, in Bitcoin, and let's say Bitcoin goes from 50,000 to 100,000, you've doubled your money. You got now. Let's say you had 2,000, you have 4,000. Your returns really aren't.
Well, it's 100%.
I know it's a great return. On investment.
Sure.
But I'm saying the dollar value that you got from it isn't a lot.
Oh no, I understand that. Yeah, I understand that.
So the difference is like with real estate. If I buy a property, for example, and I get 100% return on that property, which it's been happening in the last few years. It's been happening. I can't believe it. Some of the properties where we're at here, I won't say where we're at exactly. We've alluded to it before, kind of, but
we said
in 5 years I've seen properties in an area that wasn't very sought after at one point, going up 250% in like 5 years. Because the supply and demand is low.
But you got to realize what a hedge is, right? Your hedge is not your outcome is not to have 100% profit, which would be nice. It's the preservation of income, right? Preservation of income against inflation
or capital, even
preservation of capital against inflation, right? That's the whole point of a hedge, right? If you want astronomical values, then sure, put your money that you put into crypto into smaller projects. But you have to do a lot of research.
It just feels like to me like you're hedging money against money. One currency versus another currency, but it's all backed by the initial currency. Well, see what I'm saying? That's where the paradox is for me.
The idea is there's a value of Bitcoin that it brings to the table as not necessarily Bitcoin, but cryptocurrency in general, right? That there's a value in what it does as a means of transportation or a means of transferring capital and of preserving it and storing it.
Yeah.
And other cryptocurrencies are better than Bitcoin for transactions, right? But it's a technology that serves that function outside of government, basically any kind of government control. And so the idea is that as the government, as it's doing now, destroys the value of your dollars, it might be better off to put it in that thing, because the value that that thing provides as a tangible thing, the value is going to increase as people look for an alternative, whereas your dollars are going to be able to buy less, your buying power is going to go down. The cryptocurrency is going to go up, not just relative to the dollar going down and cryptocurrency stays the same. It's going to go up, if the dollar cuts its value in half, cryptocurrency might go up 200, 300% as a
Well, the thing is, crypto's deflationary, right? There's
It is,
there's 21 million Bitcoins. There isn't going to be more than 21 billion Bitcoins. Can you say that about fiat? And really,
but that's by design. Though you do
do
need inflation for certain reasons.
But how is it any different than fiat anyways? Like, fiat's digital money, right?
Oh, it is now.
It is now.
Absolutely
Like,
now.
the
It's not backed by anything. It's just kind
because
of...
in a bank, like you have fractional reserve banking, which I think you have to keep 1 or 2% of the money, physical money supply, in case somebody wants money. But it's really, you look at the ledger, it's all it's all.
They really
digital.
don't want you to want the money. Like,
In
they make it
fact,
so easy for
Yeah,
you.
if you go into a bank
Yeah,
tomorrow and you're like, hey, I want $10,000.
forget it.
Yeah,
You have to schedule it.
Yeah, you have to schedule it.
Yeah.
It's your money.
What's fractional reserve
They might
banking?
have to
now?
print it to bring it out.
I have done it where they have been able to do it for me.
Well, that's
But
the thing.
They asked me. They're like, "Did you call it ahead or did you
I think
schedule
about-
in advance?"
I
But
think-
they said they had it on hand, so they did it for me. But she kind of gave me shit at the till. She was like,
But think about this though. Think about this then. It's a good point that you brought up. They gave you shit, and you're their client, right? You're giving them your money.
Right.
They give you shit for handling the way you want to handle your money.
Right.
Think about how absurd that is.
Well, no, you asked for your money.
can I
That's
have
what
my
you
money back?
And they
my-
gave you
and
shit
they gave you
for
shit for that.
that. It's not...
"Yeah."
And that's the thing. If you know what, with this whole CBDC thing, here's a statement which I believe. If you believe in freedom, then you believe in Bitcoin, because eventually, I believe, like I said, there's going to be suppression of rights once we do have these CBDCs. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm off the wall here, but
I agree with you.
Given governments throughout history, I think there's a very strong...
Yeah.
I agree with you on the
chance.
theory of it. Of
Yeah.
course, the decentralization of it, I agree with all
Yeah.
that. But I just, where I'm playing devil's advocate is I'm afraid that we've gone away from decentralization. I'm afraid that they're controlling it essentially in some degree now, and it's so heavily weighted behind fiat currency now, as you can tell with the dips in with.
they can't. Well, you can't control Bitcoin. They can only you can control the tax. You can control the taxation.
I know, but the money behind it, I'm saying.
Sure.
So they're controlling the money behind it,
Sure.
which is what's backing it right now.
Well-
because it really is, as much as they say it's decentralized, it isn't. It's still attached to that fiat
Well,
currency.
for now, but let's say, so I think Bitcoin needs to hit $250,000 to actually replace the value of the US dollar in circulation. That actually will supplant the US dollar.
Yeah, but they're printing money every damn day, so like to the tune of how much? So who knows if that changes? Like look in Canada, they print like $3 billion a week.
But I think it's like so basically once you have Bitcoin in circulation, let's say Bitcoin becomes a reserve currency. You don't need fiat at that point. You can, and once it's the whole issue is adoption. It needs mainstream adoption. Once it has mainstream adoption, then it gets accepted as basically a reserve currency. In my opinion, then you don't have to worry about transacting in fiat because eventually the whole plan is to get rid of fiat. So you're going to want to transact in Bitcoin or are you going to want to transact in CBDCs? Because the thing is, fiat is going to be eradicated. Maybe not in the next few years, but
I'm with you.
Within the next decade, I believe fiat's going to be eradicated.
Yeah, it's on the fast track.
Exactly. So then fiat's not going to. The whole argument with being backed by fiat won't matter at that point because you're going to be transacting in the medium, which is.
But everybody that bought those bitcoins with fiat currency will basically take a haircut.
No, because you're holding the bitcoins. You have the bitcoins. And if you
You
transact,
don't have to transact the Bitcoin back to fiat before.
My point is, you're going to be transacting between bitcoins.
Yeah, true.
You're going to have your
no longer-
smartphone, and
true.
we're going to be transacting with our QR codes.
So basically, what you're saying now is it's all about accumulation of it's accumulating the number of cryptocurrency that you have, not necessarily the dollar value. Of
course,
but it's the units.
It's always been that.
Okay.
It's always been that.
A lot of people won't understand that, right?
Yeah.
They won't understand that
True,
idea.
true,
If
right?
you look at dollar value versus
True.
because everybody equates that to it. So really, and you see this in like dollar cost averaging and things like that with buying stock or buying
Just any kind of investment.
buying any kind of investment, right? Trying to explain this to people, they don't get that idea that you're trying to accumulate units, and then because when those units go up, now you've increased heavily. So with that, it would be the same sort of idea that you want to increase all your units held.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I guess I shouldn't say of course, because a lot of people are not going to understand that. We understand that.
Yeah. There's something I want to segue into real quick. It's not even going to be quick, but unfortunately, but I just don't want to lose it because this is such an interesting thing that one. I think you sent it to me about fractionalization of real estate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I want to talk about this. Like, I don't know if we should talk about it right now. Are you
I haven't heard of that. No,
this
but
is incredible.
When you say that, I'm like, what the heck?
This is unbelievable. I don't know if we should talk about it now, or
it's up to you.
Could we segue back into cryptos?
We can talk whatever the fuck you want to talk about.
Okay, because I don't want to lose it. I want to talk about this. This is a really interesting thing.
Spit it out already.
All right, it kind of talks about both. So what they're doing now, or at least this is the idea. Now, I don't know if this is actually happening yet or not. Somebody buys a property, and essentially just like a company, they're essentially releasing. I'm gonna dumb this down for anybody watching. They're essentially breaking it down to shares. So let's say you buy a property and you break it down to 100 shares. You sell those shares to people now of that property. So now you are
similar
buying,
to taking.
It's like
almost
NFTs.
like taking your house public.
Yeah.
It's like similar
That's
to
weird.
NFTs, and people are fractionalizing NFTs, and you can buy a percentage of an NFT.
Right, but I think my analogy is a little bit better. Bringing your house public.
Yep.
Yeah, you bring your house public,
Yeah,
so you still have
weird.
you have a 51% holder, which is going to be the guy selling the house, fractionalizing it, because he's the guy that actually has to take care of the property, and basically you're fractionalizing the rest of the 49%, so people own it.
And you make money on it in perpetuity.
Because you're.
So this is how it
What do you
works.
mean?
This is how it works. I don't know in actuality if it's going to work this
Just in
way,
theory.
but this is in theory of how it would work. So like Art said, the person who bought the property will retain 51%. So they're the controlling stake on the property. They sell the other 49% out in shares to people, so they own a piece of that property. Whenever there's a transaction on that property,
Tenants.
what's that?
Tenants. The whole idea is to have tenants.
Tenants, but even sale of the property.
Yes.
Yeah. So whenever there's any kind of transaction, if there's tenants that rent and they pay rent on that, everybody that has a piece of that gets a proportionate share of that property. So if you own 51%, you get 51% of the rents, that kind of thing, but in perpetuity on the property. That's what the crazy thing to me is.
So it's for people that want to hedge and enter the real estate market, they can't afford to buy a house, because the thing is, who can really afford to buy a house, right? Unless you're wealthy.
So you buy 10% of the house.
So you buy 10% of the house, and you still own real estate.
Probably still get a mortgage on that with the with the rate.
And the thing is, if you buy a property, let's say somebody buys like a low-rise building, like with 8 or 10 different apartment units.
Yeah.
Now
you own 0.5% of that or something.
and you're getting a percentage, whatever allocation, and they decide to allocate whatever chunks they want to sell it in. So you don't have to necessarily buy 1%. He could say, I want to own 51%, and I want to sell off 5% chunks, or so that ownership group or that person that owns that house can allocate whatever percentage, divide up the rest of it the way he wants. So,
you know what I see this as? I see this as basically somebody's idea to counter what's going on with the stock market, because you get the stock market and you get. I've talked about this a number of times. I've talked about it with you and with a number of people. I'm a big valuation guy based on numbers. If you have a company and you can show me you have 10 times earnings, things like this, like these kinds of numbers, I'll look at that and I'll say this is what the valuation of that company is. A good example for me that you and I have had discussions about is Tesla. I think Tesla is super overvalued, but
it's got a PE ratio of 350.
Right. So it's crazy overvalued.
1.05 trillion market cap.
Imagine somebody asking you to pay 350 times value for something.
Well, think about this though. It's got a 1.05 trillion market cap, and it only produced 900,000 cars.
Exactly.
Toyota, which I think they're around close to 380 billion market cap, they produced 9 million vehicles.
Right.
Tesla's valuation is combined, like if you combine the rest of the major auto manufacturers, their market cap is still higher than them combined. Yeah. And yet they produce 900,000 cars. Right. It's such a really, it's such a terrible company when you think about, and they've been propped up by government subsidies as well. Like you really think, as much as I think Elon Musk is brilliant, I don't know if initially he had a very good business acumen, right? Because to pay $350 earnings for.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah. No.
I
I
think the
ju-
reason that it's so high is because it's the technology, right?
Right.
He's revolutionized what a car
sure,
is.
but it's still 350.
300
It's still 350
But then you got
PE.
other stuff like the robots, and they're a leader in AI with self-driving cars. There is the argument to be made that Tesla is going to be a dominant company because they already have pretty damn good self-driving capabilities, right? So if they can solve that completely, which I think Elon Musk is saying by the end of this year, Elon Musk says that all the time, but if they can get that solved, if Tesla can solve that, then that's like almost game over.
I'm just
right?
saying it's a
Because
failing.
now you have robo-taxis going around. That's going to
Yeah.
replace Uber because who wants a driver if you have the option to not have a driver? You're going to be able to buy a Tesla, and now that Tesla is an asset to you because you can send it out to, at least that's on paper. This is, I think they've talked about this. You can buy your Tesla, go to work, have the Tesla go out and drive people around for you and make money for you while you're at work, and then come back and pick you up at the end of the day, right?
It's fun.
Yeah. So this is out there stuff. It almost sounds like it, but then when you realize what they're actually doing, it feels a lot less pie in the sky, hopium kind of thing. And so I think that's where Tesla's valuation comes from, is that they're doing things and they're succeeding in things that do change the world.
They're succeeding because of government intervention. If that would have been a regular company, that
Yeah.
would have floundered.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
Yeah.
and they're not going to succeed in the auto market because they may be now. The thing is, there's a lot of different manufacturers like Ford and other ones that are coming on board, and they're going to be competing with them. They're going to compete with them, and maybe.
But they're not gonna like.
See, I don't know.
We'll see.
They can maybe get the battery life, although Tesla is a leader in battery technology. They're not going to be able to compete with the AI.
The only thing I think
in self-driving,
They
because Tesla has too much.
They'll compete in the price point because I think Ford's going to introduce their
price point, yes.
They're introducing their electric truck, which is $40,000 because a Tesla vehicle's like US dollars. I think it's a
Well, you got to compare it. Does it get the range? Does it and whatever and
True.
stuff like that? But then I think the big thing is not the car as much as it is what the car can do, and Tesla just has so much data. Unless Tesla starts selling the data, I don't think anyone can catch up to them.
Again, there's two things there. You kind of touched on one. I have another thing to say. It's first in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's like Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was like, "Oh, Bitcoin's going to get surpassed." Well, they're first in, right?
Yeah.
Tesla's first in.
Yeah.
So they've got that going for them. And number two, they might just do it like, say, someone like Nokia did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, they did it, but then they also had it stolen from them. With like a lot of people don't realize the touchscreen technology on your phones and stuff. All Nokia.
Oh yeah.
They own it.
Oh yeah.
Apple's been infringing on their copyright or on their patent for, I don't know, 12 years now or something like that, and they've been in litigation for that time period. And Apple knows they're going to pay. They're going to pay through the nose. But so what? If they pay $100 billion and they made
They don't care.
10 trillion or something, you know what I mean? Like they don't give a shit.
They don't give a
right?
shit.
It's the same with anything like that. But
Yeah.
that's what I mean. So if they end up having, like you say, they have intellectual property.
Right. If they start
different
selling,
things, they sell that.
if they sell the AI and the battery tech stuff like that,
Yeah. Maybe they're just waiting to see if everybody catches up. You know what I mean? If they start to catch up.
I think they have to solve it for because they haven't. They're not there yet, right? And so I think the stock price is in the speculation that they're going to do it.
Yeah. It's still and him and I are gonna have this hard time with this more than you. This 350 PE is just
It's absurd.
It's you've never seen it before. It's unbelievable for
Yeah.
somebody to ask that.
It's something screaming bubble. I mean, fuck.
Right.
And especially
Yeah.
tech, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think they got a good thing going on with the SpaceX with their Falcon 9, and they got a good thing going on with their implant. I forget what
Neuralink.
Neuralink. They got a good thing going on. I think they should focus more on that aspect of
he's
it.
going
Well, those are completely separate.
I think he's
companies.
going to be honest.
They're completely
I think he's
second company, but it's involved with Elon, right? And
Yeah, unfortunately, they're not public companies. Because if I could buy SpaceX, I would be buying SpaceX every single month.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the Neuralink is gonna do better.
Neuralink is
Because
weird.
I think people
Would you put it in your head?
Well, I mean, if I had some kind of look at our friend, I don't know if you can Randy,
Yeah.
right? Look at him. For someone like him, I mean, if I
Right,
was,
right.
if
But
I,
that's different.
if I was him, and I heard about it, if I was someone like him, if I was a quadriplegic and it could enable me to function, well, of course I'd.
Right. That's different. I'm talking about like the grand plan for Neuralink is like it's going to it'll put the internet in your head.
No, because there's something about
and it'll be like a what's he called, a tertiary.
I don't want to be
cognitive
cyborg.
layer.
I don't want to be cyborg. There's something about being natural. It's like the same reason I
Yeah.
want to put the vaccine in my arm.
You would probably be a lot more open to that than we would.
Yeah.
Because
It's-
we're a different
I
generation.
am. I don't know if I would do it, but like I don't know if you present me this thing and you're like, here, we're gonna do a little surgery, put that in your head, and the internet is gonna be in your head, and it's gonna serve as a tertiary layer of cognition for you. It's gonna speed everything up.
But
You're
what else
gonna
can it
be,
do?
You know.
But what else can I do?
Exactly. Who knows what else you can do? But you get those
Kill
on there.
Arthur.
But it's like this, right? It's like this. You have this phone, and it's like it tracks you everything you go. This thing is fucking creepy.
Man,
Oh yeah, don't.
I don't
Listening
have
to you,
like
man.
I don't
Yeah.
have the most consistent schedule.
Mhm.
But I went into I got into my car. It might have been last weekend to go on like Sunday at a random time to go to the grocery store, and I pull up my phone because I'm going to connect it to the Bluetooth in my car, and it has a suggestion, a notification for the Apple Maps, Metro,
Yeah.
where I was gonna go,
Yeah.
and I was like, holy shit. How the fuck?
And then you leave.
You know my habits that good.
And then you
know
leave.
that I'm leaving right now to go to Metro
Yeah.
at this time. You know, sometimes I go on Saturday, sometimes it's like Friday or Monday or something.
And then you leave and ask you, how was your visit to Metro today?
Yeah, yeah. It's so
Imagine
so
that's in your
creepy.
head.
But in my opinion, the trade-off is worth it because this is a supercomputer in my hand. It gives me access to so much information, right? So there's always going to be that trade-off.
I think I would do it when I hit a certain age. If they would do it, if they said, okay,
Right.
like if we'll
When
still
your body's
do it.
maybe starting to give up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I'm 65, 70 or something like that, if I know like I'm getting toward the twilight years, I'm like, yeah, shove
What-
that shit in my head. I don't care.
One of my concerns in working in the industry where we deal with failures is, the failure of this unit in your head. We see the most crazy things fail,
Fuck yeah.
right? And this thing shorts out, and you have this thing in your head. Do you really want this in your head when that occurs, right? Probably not.
I've seen a phone. I've seen a phone just blow up.
Oh yeah, we
I
do.
don't know. Just off the.
Yeah, we do those things.
Melts.
We do those things all the time. We look at things like that all the time. So I'm from the side of things because this is what I do for a living, and not myself because I'm a fire investigator. But we have mechanical engineers and we have people on our staff that deal with these types of product failures. So, and especially something during its infancy stages. You're gonna have that's the thing, right? This technology comes out, you're gonna implant these things, and as much as they do all the proper work and all the calculations, all the R&D,
Are you gonna be first or second in line?
are you gonna be the first guy to really want to?
Right.
I wouldn't be the first in line.
Yeah. I'll wait.
But once I know that it works, like the same thing with the smartphone, like
Yeah.
you know what this can do and and that is it's not gonna explode for the most part. I think the Samsung had an issue.
Yeah, well,
for
I don't know. There's something will be natural. I don't like. It's the same reason why I want to inject myself, with a vaccine, and there's just something invasive about it. Is what it is, I guess. I don't like the idea of something that being invasive in me.
forcefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that thing is with that Neuralink, it wouldn't be forceful. I wouldn't want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right though, because somebody could use it for nefarious.
Would your mind
reasons.
change if everybody around you got it and they were like
Outpacing
just
it?
insane super geniuses relative to any human you've ever met? Like you think Elon Musk is smart? That would be nothing.
Yeah.
I in theory compared to what these people would be once when you have Neuralink at its
You know what?
proposed peak.
Maybe like Alex said, maybe if I was your age, I'd be more inclined to do it.
Oh, absolutely. Because
But financially right now, like
technology is very different to us.
technology, like if I needed to compete with others and I couldn't compete otherwise and I'd be on the streets and homeless, maybe different. I'm at a different point in my life where
I don't think it's about competition. It's for me, it's more like, well, fuck, I want to see the internet in my head.
for me, it's about
You know?
for me, the only reason I would get it is if I needed to sustain myself. If I was younger and I was trying to get into the workforce, establish myself, and everybody and all the people your age around me have it, fuck, you're at a competitive disadvantage in the market. Whereas now, like, I have money. I'm not rich, but I have money.
Wealthy.
I'm
You say
wealthy
you're
enough that I feel comfortable that
Yeah.
I don't need that competitive advantage.
Yeah.
I guess it's situational. It could be personal beliefs, could be situational.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
true. That's
Yeah.
true. For me personally, it'd be I'm with you. Same sort of reasons.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to put something in me that was invasive potentially. Somebody could take control over it, or
Yeah.
they could
That's
track
true.
me. They could do all
Neuralink
kinds of
is
things. This is
supposedly
already
read and write.
This
So who knows
already
what it
tracks
can do to you?
Well, it's supposed to
Yeah.
stimulate nerves, right, in your body so you can be able to move. What else can it do then?
Yeah.
If it can stimulate your nerves,
exactly
We don't
Might be
know.
able to just completely take over you.
and this is information that's proprietary because we know what we know,
right.
but there's information that we don't know.
Right.
Every product, you're going to have information that you don't know. So what do these guys know about what it can do? What they're not telling us? I mean, and again, conspiracy, but who knows? No.
And again, I don't trust humans enough to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anybody has anybody's best interest unless they love them, unless they're directly,
Yeah.
they have a direct relationship with them. But you hear this whole idea that like government has your best interest. No, they don't.
Not anymore.
You're a fucking
I
number.
don't think
You
they
don't
ever did.
matter. I don't think they ever did either.
No.
You're just a number to them.
I think there was a time where people had a moral compass, and I think it just became wildly distorted at some point.
It's debatable. I think.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think it
it's
comes and
debatable.
goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With
I
different
mean, smaller
times.
communities, sure.
Yeah.
Like if you get really small, tight communities.
I'm not talking
Yeah.
about government. I'm just talking about people in general. I think people
Yeah,
have more. I think people have more
you
of
get
a.
the cycles. You get the
Yeah.
cycles of society. Like right now, we're in an insane time of degeneracy, and
Yep.
this has happened
Yep.
time and time again throughout history, preceding societal collapse, and it's just the same thing. It's a breakdown of morality. Morality gets passed off to the state, and the state is not a moral entity.
No.
Right.
And so, but people, it's
People entrust them like they are, but they're not.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
they use the state as an excuse, right? So, like, for example, like we might be able to agree that maybe it's not exactly morally right to engage in something like prostitution, maybe, right? You can say, okay, there's all these downfalls, in societies. Like maybe you shouldn't, from a moral level, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. Maybe you shouldn't be a prostitute or get one.
Or get one.
Yeah, but.
I'll get
When the
used to a
state, I know you would. When the state comes in and legalizes it, people will put that more. It's like, okay, the state, daddy government said it's okay, so then they'll do, and then they'll engage in that degeneracy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
And
gonna be your prostitute for a second.
oh, please.
Yeah, or I might actually.
I'm okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's more, by the way. It's just over at the main.
I agree. I think if the government enables it and basically legalizes it, people are going to take advantage of it. And
I think there's a time, like right now, we're in a time where that will happen, and I think there are other times where people have, they have that morality where it doesn't matter what the government says.
Yeah.
They have their right and wrong. But I wanted to ask you about mining cryptocurrency and
Okay.
if it's viable.
absolutely, it's viable depending on what kind of project you get. If you get involved with one certain project where I'm still waiting for a miner, which is a helium project, then the problem is, I don't know if you're familiar with helium. It's basically
Vaguely, you mentioned it. I looked into it, and it fascinates me.
it's basically the IoT, right? IoT, Internet of Things, and basically it uses lo-fi, which is a different type of sort of cellular.
It's like a radio frequency, right?
Well, it's a frequency that you use for smaller devices. So the whole thing is they want to enable these devices to communicate on a different type of network, right? Which people run. You run your own miner, you run your own sort of lo-fi network, which enables the devices to communicate better because the more of them you have, the more of a grid you have. Sort of like, it's sort of like cell towers, right? Sort of like cell phone coverage, right? So, for example, if you have, just thinking out in the future, let's say you have a garbage bin, right? You can have like a chip in there that enables the collection company to tell them when the garbage bin is full of garbage. They'll be able to come by and pick it up, and this device will transmit to that.
Make everything
That's
more
cool.
efficient, right?
I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like even like the whole bike sharing program, like in Hamilton, I forget what the bikes are called, right?
Yeah.
They can run on a lo-fi network. There's certain things. So Helium Network enables people to run their own sort of node where it helps these communication devices communicate, and you get compensated for that based on mining rewards. But the problem is,
so like how accessible is it, right? Like the reason I asked is because I know early on in Bitcoin or in crypto, you had a better, I guess, cost to return ratio, at least with like the big ones like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, stuff
like
like
payback
that.
period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and with time, it kind of electricity costs go up, or just you get less per whatever you're doing, and it kind of got to a point I think a couple of years ago where people started to say that it's not even worth it to start mining crypto.
It all depends what you're mining, because the thing is with mining, there's you asked about mining. There's so many different mining projects.
Right.
The ones I'm talking about actually, like the Helium Network. What's nice is they're low power. It runs on 5 watts,
Right.
which is
You're
less
not paying,
less than a light bulb,
Yeah.
right? You're running on something that costs $5 a year.
then what's the barrier of entry?
Well,
Like if you
No.
do you got to put tens of thousands
the
of dollars
units
into it?
No,
or-
like a miner, like a rack miner. I forget what I bought mine for because now I haven't fucking delivered it yet. It's been since last April. I think it was $400 or $500 US for a miner, so it's not cost prohibitive. Then you got to buy.
What would that? So you put $500 into a miner. What are you producing?
Well,
or is it consistent to what you're producing?
Well, here's the problem. And if you were to look up a helium network map, you'll see the saturation of these things. If you have, so your area, your city's broken up into hexes, right? You have a certain amount of miners in each hex, and if you have too many miners in your each hex, basically, it's too saturated. They don't distribute the rewards evenly to everyone, basically, because the whole premise of the network is you don't want to oversaturate with miners, because the thing is they want to pay out rewards to redundant communication devices, right? If you have 10 communication devices in one hex when you really only need one or two, why would they incentivize you to pay everybody what they would pay for one or two? So basically you split it up, and that's the problem, saturation. And the thing is, like the one company, I don't know if I should even mention that, but the one company, which is a supplier where I bought my miner from, I ordered it back in late April, and I still haven't received it. I ordered 3 of them. I canceled 2 because
I think that's a problem with all the miners too, right? You get the
chip shortage.
Miners,
but why is it so? So the other miner that I do have now is a Bobcat miner. They said, when you order this thing, it's going to take 12 to 20 weeks. It took 21 weeks. So their timeline was actually quite good. So and this other company, which I'm not going to mention, they said, I can't remember, was it like 12 weeks or 16 weeks, and I ordered it back in April. So how come this company is able to source a chip?
They meant to say months.
Yeah. How come they can source the chip? If there's a chip shortage, it's a supply chain problem. How come they can source it and this company can't, right? Yeah. And anyway, that gets away from that. I'm talking about distribution, which is not the whole question here. But the issue, the barriers right now with that particular project is saturation. Right? Because they don't want to pay redundant rewards. And the only thing you can change about that is you change your antenna, because you can change your antenna to have, better coverage. And that gets into the whole radio communications, which I don't want to talk about, the different types of antennas that you use. I'm sure people don't want to know about that. But or you change your location. You change your physical location. Because the thing is, if you're saturated in one hex, then maybe you move to, like you say, your buddy has a spot that's out in the middle of nowhere, but you've got enough miners around you to still communicate. And you say, well, let's go like 50-50 on this, because I'm getting jack here. I'm getting like a 0, so the reward scale goes up to 1.00. So I'm getting like a 0.1 reward scale, where you're like, you can get like close to 1 here. So why don't we just?
So if you were to do that in a secluded sort of property, how many miners would you need then to create sort of that network?
You still need miners to communicate with. The thing is, if you're solo,
you need at least 2 then.
Yeah, because you need at least 2. Like you need at least 2 around you, because you have to communicate. Because you get rewards through witnessing each other. Okay. It's sort of like pinging back and forth between each other. That's how you get rewards, right? If you have nobody around you, then you kind of have to wait till somebody saturates your hex until you start earning rewards. Okay. That's the healing project. Okay. But I mean, there's another one that I'm involved with. It's called Planet Watch. Planet Watch is actually really, really neat. They have these air sensor monitoring devices, and what this company does is they sell the environmental data to governments and companies. Now with the whole ESG movement, environment is going to be a big thing, right? And the thing is, you're collecting data, you're collecting like the particulates, you're collecting the temperature, humidity, pollution in the air, and you're getting compensated in tokens for that. So your unit sends a certain amount of data streams back to the company, and those data streams, they populate like basically a database, which then in turn they actually sell to corporations and sell to governments for environmental data. That's cool. That's kind of a neat thing. Yeah. So I got one of those devices. Yeah. I got a couple more on the way.
See, this is what I like. This is the part of the space that I like when we talk about cryptos in general. The parts that I like are the ones that when you look at a cryptocurrency, it actually does something. It has there's a reason behind it. One of the reasons why I bought like XRP or XLM, they had the idea behind peer-to-peer transfer or XRP is peer to institution transfer, right? Or
institutional transfers. And then, they're designed to replace SWIFT.
Right, and then XLM is peer-to-peer transfers.
Yes.
Right? Yep. So I like the idea behind that. But when you look at something like a Dogecoin, for example,
it's junk.
It's junk. It's a junk coin. But you saw so much money go into this. A bunch of people lost their shirt on this thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, you see that with a lot of different cryptocurrencies. There's a ton of junk cryptocurrencies out there. So that's when I say
it's like a bandwagon thing. People just throw stuff out there.
I'm going to make a cryptocurrency and let's see what happens.
That's basically what NFTs are.
Right.
I select projects based on the 3 different characteristics, and then other smaller ones. I look at the project team, first of all. I look at utility. Utility is my most important thing, and liquidity. right? I need liquidity in the markets, and other things matter as well. Other things matter as well. But yeah, like Dogecoin is a meme coin. It has no utility.
Right.
It had no utility. Now they're actually starting to build it because initially it was actually set up as a gag.
Yeah.
Now they're actually starting to realize, oh shit, people are actually starting to adopt it, and so the developers actually now started developing on this, which is interesting, right?
What are they going to do?
I don't know what they're going to do with it because I don't even pay attention because it just annoys me.
I just know that they said they're gonna do something with it. But
It just annoys
because
me.
they got a bunch of real dollars.
yeah,
right
now it's
I think the most.
I get one question on something before you go on a tangent about something that's really cool. With these different cryptos and that, do you foresee that then if, let's say, for example, they sort of become mainstream? Let's say fiat currency starts to take a real dive and they become mainstream. Do you see the bad coins falling off, number one, and do you see the other coins that actually have utility going into that utility exclusively? For example, let's say helium. Or I don't know if it was helium that you were talking about. Whichever one you were talking about, as far as it was doing the ES.
Planet Watch.
Yeah, that was doing the things. So if you were trading that currency, would it only be related to something like that? In other words, or is it just going to be another dollar essentially? Like, oh, I'm going to build a deck for you, and you're going to give me 1,000 Cardano.
Yeah, well, that's your compensation. You're getting that coin as compensation, then you can flip that over to Bitcoin if you want. But that's the way.
That's my ask. That's my question. Is it everything going to hedge against Bitcoin then?
Good question.
So you trade all these other cryptos that now Bitcoin acts as the fiat behind all of them.
Good question.
Or is it like, hey, I want to buy a deck. I want you to build a deck for me. I'm going to pay you in deck coin.
Yeah.
Or whatever, and that's what it's specifically for. So my wallet now, instead of having $1, like one currency, now has 1,000 different cryptocurrencies, all with their own little.
And that was my next point.
Moniker.
I think that's a good question. I think we don't know.
Yeah.
But what I think is going to happen, and it's kind of analogous to like countries operating with their smaller currencies and then trading it for US dollars.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen is you're going to have, well, first of all, I think during the next major crash, maybe we're in the middle of this right now with our correction, but I think you're going to see a lot of the shitcoin gets wiped out. A lot of maybe 99% of the coins get wiped out because the vast majority of them are shit. Like I said, I look for those three characteristics when looking at a coin, and most important is utility. Do they have something I could buy into? And I think what's going to happen is those remaining coins that have utility, they're going to compensate people, like the users, the miners, with that currency, and they're going to be able to trade that in for Bitcoin. Because the thing is, like, I don't think you're going to have. I think my belief is Bitcoin it will be the reserve currency. That's my personal belief. Right. So I don't think you're going to, much like the US dollar, you're not going to have these multiple smaller currencies competing in the world markets because it's not going to happen.
So basically, you would say Bitcoin would be like gold.
Yeah, well, Bitcoin's going to be like.
It would be the gold standard.
Well, Bitcoin's going to be like the US dollar. US dollar is a reserve currency, right?
But I mean, before the US dollar used to be backed by gold.
Yeah,
right.
Until 1970.
And still gold
until
1971.
Right.
Gold serves as a function of a store of value. I think that's what Bitcoin is.
That's conceptually that's what Bitcoin is right now. Until they increase their transfer, the problem with Bitcoin is aside from transaction costs, it's scalability. Scalability is a big problem. Volatility is going to eventually.
It will taper.
It will taper. It will taper. It'll eventually level because we're still. If you look at the adoption curve, we're still very like. If you kind of have the. I don't know if you've ever seen the adoption curve. We're still like in the first 10-20%, right? Once it reaches mass adoption, you're gonna have stable prices, right? The problem right now is transactions. Bitcoin's not suitable for transactions. It doesn't scale. What I mean by scale is like you look at Visa, which conducts like 30,000 transactions per second. Bitcoin's got 5 to 7 transactions per second. And they're not going to change the core function of Bitcoin, but they're going to change how the layer operates. They have this thing called Lightning Network, and Lightning Network's supposed to change the whole scaling of Bitcoin, so it's going to scale better. So right now, you're right, Bitcoin's a store of value. It's not intended for transaction right now. It'll get there. I think it's going to take some time. But yeah, and once they overcome the scaling issues and once they overcome the transaction costs, I think it'll be more popular.
What about lost Bitcoin? What about Bitcoin that's just gone? Like,
it's gone.
It is just gone.
So, okay, but they don't know it's gone, right? It might have dropped off
but
the
it's
blockchain.
functionally gone.
What I'm saying, though, is it might have dropped off the blockchain.
It doesn't fall off the blockchain.
No, but it stays in the blockchain, but it just it has no activity.
Yeah.
It hasn't traded.
Yeah.
So it's basically...
Well, it's gone.
So
If you don't have your private keys,
It's like a dollar that you have that you lost in the yard and got buried.
Yeah.
It's the same.
if you don't have your keys,
functionally, it's the same thing.
if you don't have your keys, it's like so. There's one guy in the space called Andreas Antonopoulos. You might have heard of him. Really good Bitcoin guy, and he says basically, he makes the point that if you don't control your keys, you don't control your crypto, right? If you lose your crypto, you don't have your private keys, and it's gone. Like you said, it's like if you lost that dollar, it's just gone. And this is why banks are custodying crypto, because the thing is, like, institutional investors are not going to be comfortable buying Bitcoin directly, right?
Yeah.
They're going to make sure they custody it. They're going to have banks that custody it and take care of it for them. They're responsible for it, and it's insured, right? And that's the whole thing. Most people don't want to do what I do, is custody myself, because they don't know how to. That's the problem. I think the problem with people entering in the space is they're just not familiar with security.
Okay, that's an interesting thing you just said there, that I don't necessarily know what that means. I want to expand on that. Custodying it yourself versus not, but people don't know how to do that. What are you referring to specifically?
So if you buy Bitcoin on an exchange and you keep it on an exchange, it's considered a hot wallet, right? Basically, a hot wallet.
So you have like a physical wallet, or it's just stored on your
and I'll get into that.
as a physical wallet.
And I'll get into that. So when I onboard my fiat,
It's different than I have Coinbase, right? I can buy Bitcoin. Just my debit card right now, I could buy $100 worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That's different than if I were to maybe buy the Bitcoin on Coinbase and then transfer it over into like a different.
Have it on a ledger.
Yeah, like something that I would maybe download to my computer.
Yeah, and that's what I'll explain. So when you onboard your fiat and you onto an exchange, you buy your Bitcoin. If you keep it on the exchange, there's a chance it could get hacked. They called it hot wallet. It's hot wallet because you're still on the exchange. You're still susceptible to hacking. Yeah,
because it's your Coinbase account.
Yeah.
Someone can get into your account similar to any other account.
And this is the problem. This is the problem why Bitcoin tanks too. I'm not going to segue too much into it. This is why Bitcoin tanks too, because they say, "Well, this exchange got hacked. There's something wrong with Bitcoin." No, there's nothing wrong with the functionality of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's never had what's called a 51% attack, where it gets attacked. It's the exchanges that are secure. So the best thing to do is, if you're going to buy crypto
off the exchange,
if you have if you buy $100 of the Bitcoin, I mean, fuck, you know what?
You're
going to spend more on a ledger than the actual Bitcoin's worth. So, but if you have a significant sum of crypto,
so if you do that, how accessible is it? Is it as accessible?
it's got like a USB stick. It literally looks like a USB stick.
No, but I'm talking about like, okay, so I have, if I have, $100 worth of Bitcoin, right, on Coinbase, it's there, right? I can convert it, I can spend it, I can send it to someone for something, right? If you have it on a ledger, is it just as easy to do that?
Yeah, you just have to physically plug in your stick. So the way it operates.
So you just put it into your computer.
So the way it operates.
So what's the means to do that? Is it just software that will you?
Well, I want to get into that. So the thing is, like, so you install the software on your computer. So you have this app on your computer or your tablet or whatever you got it on, or your phone. It's called Ledger Live. I'm just talking about Ledger because there's different types of.
Right. There's probably a whole bunch of options.
Well, there's only a few, but Ledger's the one that's I like. So you install Ledger Live, right, and then you have this USB stick. So the USB stick, in order for you to see what you have as far as crypto, you have to plug it in your computer and open up the app. So one doesn't work without the other. There he goes. That's
Look, this is how much I've used it, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the older one. They have a newer one right now, the Ledger Nano X. That's the Ledger Nano S. That's all it is. Right? And you plug the cord in.
So you just plug it in. It's attached to software that will allow you to send.
So you can okay. So if I open up my Ledger Live account without that USB stick attached to it, I can see my account, what's my holdings, and see everything in there. It's password protected, but I can't do anything.
Okay.
I can only do something with this because then you plug it in, and anytime you do a transaction, you actually have to confirm on this thing because you have these buttons on the side here. The newer one's different. They have the buttons on the front.
Hold it up to the camera.
Sorry.
I'll look at.
So you kind of have these two buttons at the top. The newer ones actually have buttons on the side there. So once you're transacting, you're sending Bitcoin or you're doing whatever you're doing in your Ledger Live, this is the device that you confirm it with. One doesn't work without the other.
Okay.
And this is a cold wallet. So basically, once you have that on there, it's completely offline.
Yeah, it can't be hacked into.
40 word.
24. It's a 24 word. So and I was going to get into that as far as security. So if you lose this Ledger Live, when you first set up, they give you this 24 word passphrase. They give you like a little sheet. You probably still have it in here.
Probably.
I'm not gonna fucking take it first. But anyways,
I have it in my phone.
So
I have it in my notes.
I wouldn't keep it on there.
I don't have anything on it. Who cares?
No, I'm just saying if you do
Yeah,
one
yeah,
day. But basically, so they give you this 24-word recovery phrase. So if you were to lose this thing and you buy a new one and you input that 24 recovery phrase, it's going to populate your account again. Because remember, it operates based on your app. So you could take any device, right, and populate it with your 24-word recovery phrase, and then you're going to restore your account. It's complete.
So you say restore your account. Isn't that basically saying that it's somewhere, like it's in the cloud, essentially?
No, because it's on. It needs both. I'm not a techie.
Yeah.
I'm not a techie person because I can't really describe this. But it's basically it's not out there on a cloud or anything like that. Because it's technically on here, but you need to. This is the interface point.
So, but
But I think that if you lose
If I
that
lose
and you
this, I
can
lose
react
it,
it, then it's technically
But
not
that's
on there.
yeah, that you lose it. But that's why you have your recovery phrase. Because the recovery phrase it'll populate it based on your
But then it's
connection.
technically
It
not
has to be
on
in the
there.
cloud.
It has to be stored somewhere else.
yeah.
I don't know.
Because I know the old wallets
Yeah.
from like back in the day, it was a physical thing. You lost that thing, it's gone, right? Like there was that story of that guy
Yeah. With
had a bunch of Bitcoin
Yeah.
on the hard drive and then they threw away the computer or something. It was in a landfill somewhere.
He's still trying to get
and
it. apparently.
it was enough Bitcoin that was worth billions of dollars.
Half
half a billion.
Yeah, insane amounts of money.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's they call it cold wallet. It is maybe it is out there somewhere in the cloud. But that is the most secure way you can store.
Yeah.
That is the more secure way you can do it. You know.
Yeah, I would just think that there would be a way that somebody could figure out how to hack it. They just haven't yet.
They'd have to get the code, right?
But I mean,
A lot of hacking too
How did they get any?
is physical.
They're saying the
Breaking
biggest
your
problem
house.
is going to be the biggest obstacle is quantum computing. But I think it's like if you have to worry about quantum computing and then hacking Ledger, I think they're going to hack other different shit before they hack that. I think if you're worried about quantum computing, you got a whole different other subset of problems
Yeah,
that.
it's a whole new-
they would have to know that you had $500 million
Yeah.
on a ledger
Yeah.
to try and hack that.
Yeah.
And how would they know that unless
They would go after like Coinbase specifically.
Right, they would go after the.
Or they'd go after, there's some of these companies that hold a lot of Bitcoin. They go after them.
Yeah, it's true. Like they're not going to know unless you run around telling everybody, "Hey, I got $500 million on this. Good luck."
So this stuff is so serious that there's one company, there's one CEO. He has inside a mountain in Switzerland that was a decommissioned military bunker. They set up like basically a storage facility for Bitcoin, where they have servers that have actually never been online, right? So basically they store all this Bitcoin there, and they have these multiple layers of security. One of them is like a biometric fingerprint to get in, and you actually have to have a pulse, so you couldn't cut someone's finger off. And they have heavy military presence. That's how. Wow. And a lot of companies are electing to, custody their crypto in this, in this method because it's so damn secure. But it's crazy. Like
Awesome.
you think about it, it's fucking, and it shows in that video I sent you, the documentary called Cryptopia.
Yeah.
And like halfway through they describe it, it's just absolutely blows your fucking mind.
It's almost like setting up a sub.
Iranian
Sub,
bunker?
no, like a subculture or not a culture, a sub. What's the word I'm looking for? Like a sub community. Like you have like.
You could say subculture.
Well, I guess you could, but like culture. Yeah, I didn't want to like conflate it with something else, but like a different community, like a set outside of everyone else. Like we're gonna be essentially our own thing. I kind of foresee that coming.
Yeah.
I foresee you already see it with the ultra rich, right? They buy little islands and stuff like that. They can just basically, but I think you're going to start to see almost little colonies.
People are starting to do that. People are starting. If you've ever heard of the term bolt hole, bolt hole is basically United States. People are basically migrating from the cities because of all the social unrest, civil unrest that's going to occur once the economy crashes.
Because people are fleeing the cities.
So the reason
right
they're fleeing the city into these areas that are
just Democrat-controlled areas.
They're fleeing these areas into these areas called bolt holes, and basically your bolt hole is basically your safety space where you can go into a more rural area where you can possibly even grow your food. You have a close community of people. You have weaponized. People are starting to weaponize themselves. Like ammunition's on, short supply.
You can't buy ammo.
You can't buy ammo.
But it's expensive.
Yeah. So
Make
people
their
are
own ammo.
people are buying ammo. People are buying this land for a reason. There's going to be, there will be civil unrest. And the thing is,
There already is.
the last
will be.
The last place you want to be
It's a
is
year of cities burning.
the last place you want to be is like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles when this shit goes down.
You don't want to be there now, let alone when the shit goes down.
Yeah.
They've already decriminalized crime.
Yeah.
In these places.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, how's that going to work? Defund your police. How's that going to fucking work?
Well, they're all starting to
Defund your police. What is it? It's now legal in New York City. Theft under $900 is legal.
But that
They're
was
not going to prosecute.
the same thing going on in California.
Petty crime. Yeah, they've been doing that in California for a while. You saw in San Francisco, people just walk into stores
smashing
and
guys.
take stuff.
Well, they can't clog up the court systems with all kind of junk because it's so frequent, right? Crazy anarchy.
But by telling people that, though, by saying that it's not illegal, you're just incentivizing them to do it. Of
course.
Look at the rail yards. What is it? What company is it?
That's what makes me think that it's
No, there's
a
a-
controlled collapse.
I'm gonna pee.
They're doing it on
There's
purpose.
a company down in California. There's a rail line in California, Union Pacific maybe or something like that. They're talking about pulling out of California because they're theft on trains.
Oh, I saw Joe Rogan posted
Yeah,
something
it's
about
up
that.
160%.
There's just packages littering.
Yeah.
Some of them haven't even been opened. They just go in there and throw them off
Yeah.
the train. They break open the carts, throw them off. It's like, what the hell is going on?
You're creating this strange societal breakdown, and I don't get it. Like, I can understand if you're doing it in little pieces to say, all right, we're going to correct this system, and we feel like we have to kind of like break this system down. I get that idea, but I don't particularly like it. I'm not a proponent for it, but I get the idea behind it. But when you start to break down all of them at once, simultaneously, what do you think is going to happen? You're just going to have a collapse of society. You tell people that you're decriminalizing things. Well, now you're incenting the criminals,
You're basically saying you can now go into a store and take whatever you want.
and I can't stop you.
I won't stop you.
I'll tell you what, man.
You
If
know?
I had a, I love it. Why do people have a hard time with this?
I've never had a
I
hard
know.
time with your door.
You tried to pull it up, didn't you? I know. Listen,
Who opens
I know
the
a
door
couple
handle
people-
up?
I know a couple people that have tried that. Oh yeah. At the house. Unless you want a regular Bud Light in the bottom. I'll go get you one. Get back over here. Oh, you're gonna have one of those? Okay. Yeah, of course. Help yourself. Man. But I have more Bud Light Lime at the main house. Anyways, yeah. So I just don't understand the absolute breakdown that way.
It feels controlled. It
It does
feels
feel
on
like it's
purpose.
contrived,
It feels like they're trying to. Who knows what the end goal is? To just take over, like to have a certain group come in and be like, "Oh, you've collapsed. Now we're in charge now." And
Yeah, I don't
Who the
know.
hell knows?
I don't like to. I've said this before. I don't like to go on the whole idea that humans are that smart that they're like this is contrived in a way that they understand what they're doing. I think they don't necessarily understand what they're doing. I think it's all about control.
But I think it's on purpose. Like
How do
I can
you
get
do-
with you. I can get with you in the sense that maybe they don't fully understand what they're doing, but I think what they're doing is on purpose.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's like they don't necessarily know what they're doing. They're trying this, they're trying that, and some things are just working, and other things maybe don't work. That's why you have Klaus Schwab.
Yeah.
Did you watch the most recent Joe Rogan with James Lizzie? And they were talking about Klaus Schwab and how he wrote a
Looks like
book
an evil
now.
Bond
He is an evil Bond villain, but he wrote a whole book now called The Great Narrative, and he's like the Great Reset guy, basically, with
Yeah.
the World Economic Forum, and now he's writing this Great Narrative book, and it's like they're kind of shifting their strategies as they go, as things don't necessarily work as they're intended. Did you hit that, or?
I got it.
So how else do you normalize the population? You know, so it doesn't. I mean, you got 7.8 billion people. You have
So
to
they
dress.
don't like revolt?
Well, you have to dress the population somehow. And the thing is, and
Yeah.
maybe this is
Put them in the Matrix.
I don't know. Like, you see these different things where you see shifts, like I said, guys like Bill Gates buying up property and stuff. So, like, maybe this is their shift to I'll use the name that everybody knows, the metaverse, right? Maybe this is their shift to virtual reality. They understand that we're moving that direction, and they're trying to get ahead of it, and they feel like the way to get ahead of it maybe is to control everything, control all the assets, the hard assets, control what people think.
Right. You will own nothing, and you will be
Right.
happy.
So you do all this stuff, so we can very easily put you in a 6x6 pod.
Well, yeah, I watched Ready Player One last week.
You did, hey, I told you.
I didn't make it to the end.
It's
I
weird.
don't know how it ends.
Yeah, good.
It's weird.
Inedible, and I was asleep.
read
I
the
think they
book
got the
first.
second key, and that's about when I
you're-
fell asleep.
You're like midway through then.
Mid
a little after.
to a little later, yeah. But
I watch it too.
that's
It's odd.
such a,
It's an odd movie.
It's such a weird, but it makes sense.
It's kind of dystopian.
I'm not
Oh,
gonna
it
do the
is.
thing-
It is a dystopian.
Yeah, I'm
It's
not
a
going to do the
dystopian
thing that everybody does
story,
where they say the
but
book's better.
the book's better.
But I read the book first.
But just
But
think about the
they actually did a
concept,
good job
right?
with the
Like, what do they do? Society basically collapses, and so they give everybody this virtual space to go into, to do stuff, to have some kind of value. And it's a video game. But you see it now where video games give people meaning. There's certain people, like, they can get completely engulfed in a video game. And just imagine that on steroids. If you can be in VR, if you can, VR is already really good. Like, it's fun and it's really cool to see. It's not, it's not perfect. It's not as immersive as it could be, but
Imagine with a haptic suit.
yeah, you throw a haptic suit on there.
And you can feel things and
They
stuff.
say this is nothing like VR though, because the thing is, it's different. It's you can monetize things on there. Like you look at the I know a little bit about metaverse. You look at Decentraland. You look at the Sandbox. There's companies like Adidas and Nike. They're buying up spaces. There's big corporations buying up spaces. Like this land that sells on there is just the values of this land is astronomical.
Look up Earth.io.
Yeah,
That's been around for a while.
Yeah.
And you look for like any good land,
yeah.
it's gone.
Well,
It's been bought
they're
up.
all. There's a whole bunch of different metaverse companies.
Yeah.
Decentraland's Decentraland's the big one. Sandbox is another big one. Axie Infinity is different because that's more of a video game based metaverse. I'm a fan of buying the tools basically to get you into the metaverse. So there's one project called Meta Hero. It's actually really neat. They have this sphere that you walk into, and I think there's like 200 different types of cameras. They're sponsored by Sony. Basically, they have entire coverage. They'll basically create an exact digital representation of you in which you can go into the metaverse. And there's no other company that does it right now. So to me, they're kind of what I call like a tool to get into the metaverse. I'm a big fan of like the picks and shovels kind of thing.
Me too.
Because the thing is, there's going to be different platforms, but there's going to be like...
Right. That's what I was telling you about Matterport recently as a company. It's a public company. They have, you know about them? Yeah, their technology is amazing.
Our contractors use them, and we're looking at getting a Matterport device.
Yeah, it's an amazing piece of technology, like what it can do, right? So you can take, I don't know, presumably in the metaverse, you can buy a $30 million mansion for whatever it is, and then you would be in it in virtual reality because it's perfectly scanned, and it would be like.
We use it for our insurance, like our contractors use it for our insurance claims.
As well as other spaces too, like big open areas they can do now, I think. So
Meta Hero is really neat. I actually heard about them because there's this, in Dubai, they have this blockchain summit that they had this year, and that's where I first heard about them, and I started doing research on them, and it's really neat. And they're building their own metaverse as well. So they're going to be the tool, and they're going to have this other metaverse called Everdome.
So it's going to be competing metaverses. It's going to be the meta multiverse.
But it's like Tesla though. The first ones get in, right? And the first ones are Decentraland and Sandbox. So Decentraland and Sandbox are the ones that are most popular. That's where a lot of the large companies are starting to buy space. Like corporate companies.
I wonder if it's going to end up though, kind of like Ready Player One, where it's like, those are the first sort of things. But what happens when some corporation creates a video game that is just completely immersive, that everybody goes into, and this video game lays out the frame, almost like Minecraft maybe, where it kind of just gives you all of this freedom, but then it's it has all of this virtual reality components that games don't have now and no one's ever done. But you see it in like Ready Player One, where it's like just the way that they interact in the virtual world is very much like you do.
So it's actually there's skeleton versions of the metaverse right now. Actually, there's one case already where somebody got assaulted in the metaverse, and they're actually trying it as somebody getting assaulted in like the real world.
Right.
Is that you?
It's not mine.
That's you. It's not me.
Oh,
It's right beside you.
No, it's because this is turned down. It's my iPad.
They actually already have a consumer experience in the metaverse. So right now, I forget which platform it is. You can basically go into the metaverse, buy something, go into like a store, like a grocery store, go into like like a pharmacy or a department store, buy something, and the product actually gets shipped to you by Amazon.
The hell are you?
Are you guys there?
Sorry, I'm getting weird. Oh, that's no. She's asking something is an event. It's a flapper.
So what was that? You buy something in the metaverse and it comes to your house?
Yeah, like you go. It's an immersive experience. We're already
Right.
you can go into there and you can go somewhere, grocery store, or whatever you buy, and they've
okay.
actually already done it where you buy something
That
in the
is
metaverse with currency, and then they actually Amazon ships it to you.
Yeah, that is a creepy thing that I think is probably going to happen.
Well,
Right? You're gonna have Walmart,
Yeah.
and you just walk through Walmart and you look and you see what you
Well,
want.
Walmart's
and
getting
you
into
pick it
metaverse.
up.
I don't know if you heard about that. They just released it. They said this week they're getting into the metaverse space.
They were doing NFTs, right?
Yeah.
I was hearing about that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think it's dystopian. I personally wouldn't want to be in the metaverse, but will I invest in it? Absolutely, because I think it's going to be a large multi-trillion-dollar market.
It's
It's
going
going to be huge. I don't agree with it. Like I won't use it, but will I invest in it?
Oh, you'll use
scary.
it. You may not use it like
It creeps me out.
It does.
It is creepy. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm sure you would use it like probably on like a recreational type of thing.
And they're saying the big
Most
thing
people would
that
do.
they're saying the thing that's really
You go in there and
propagating.
play tennis or something, right?
Yeah, maybe.
They're saying the thing that's really propagating this metaverse is the whole COVID thing, because people can't visit each other,
Yes.
people can't travel, so they're going to use this immersive experience.
Certain people are terrified now.
Yeah.
I think this whole thing just the hysteria and the propaganda just created a whole bunch of germaphobes.
It's not even. You know what? It's not even that. As
Yeah,
far
a
as
whole
I'm
bunch of
concerned,
germaphobes.
you know what it is? It's you getting the kids now.
Yeah.
You got 2 years of kids being a lot of it being virtual school, distance learning and that kind of stuff. You're getting them prepared at a young age, right? So now by the time the metaverse becomes a thing, you got these kids that were like anywhere between say 5 and 12. They're now they're late teens, early 20s, and they're basically dominating this thing.
Yeah.
They're going to grow up with the metaverse.
Of course.
But they've already been preconditioned to be okay with virtual things and not actually having human-to-human contact a lot of the time, or heavy social things. So it's all human conditioning essentially, but done at an early level, right? Because I don't think
You're
people
socially
like us-
disrupting people. So
Right. Like we're
and
not
it's,
gonna be-
and it's dangerous. It's going to be dystopian because people won't know how to communicate.
Well, we can
No one knows
fly
the
right back.
long-term effects of these kids in their formidable years, not seeing
Right.
people's faces.
Like we can all just bounce right back. The three of us can bounce
Sure,
right
yeah,
back.
sure.
Just bam back. To
Well, we
you.
grew up in a
because
different.
most of our lives were
Right.
normal.
Yeah.
But a small child, the longer you do this to them, the
Yeah.
worse it's gonna be for their.
I'm glad actually I'm not a kid at this point, for that reason. I'm glad that we kind of grew up. You and I you can't say the same, but you and I grew up sort of that last generation where we were unplugged from everything.
Yeah, the internet wasn't a thing until we were in our late teens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I mean,
We were
it was
kind of
infinitesimal.
unplugged in the sense that the internet existed, but it was like it was until I was 13, I didn't have. I didn't have like something like this that was in my hand. The internet was a box in the house. It was a computer that you
Yeah.
go to and you have to sit to it. They had them in schools and everything, right? But we still, I remember I would go out to do whatever at my friend's house, and it would the rules would be like, okay, you come home by this time.
Right.
And my parents didn't have a way to contact me without they would have to call the house that I was at to find out,
yeah.
right? So it was like I think I was the last kind of like that, because then I got that when I was 13.
Yeah.
So
So you still had a childhood.
yeah, exactly.
You had a normal childhood where you weren't on your.
Yeah, I would go
Smartphone.
out and I didn't have something on
Yeah.
me. I didn't have
Yeah.
technology. Maybe at a certain point I had like one of those old school phones that I could use to call home if I needed to or something. But it wasn't like this. It wasn't like an iPhone.
And as good as it is to immerse children, and I'm not a father, I'm not a parent, but I think as good as it is to immerse children in technology, I think there has to be sort of a way you can sort of control it as well. And I think that's otherwise, you're disrupting their formative years where they could be, forming friendships with people and knowing how to communicate. Because
And it's the same with video games too, right? Like
Yeah.
a kid sits all day in his room playing video games.
yeah,
What's he learning for social skills?
Nothing.
Like you and I were out playing sports the
Yeah.
whole time.
you're interacting with people.
There's so many benefits to that.
Yeah,
There's so many, they so outweigh all the other things. I mean, somebody could say, some of the benefits for, video gaming is, they're going to get very good with technology, or their hand-eye coordination is going to get very good with that kind of.
but they're gonna have depression
peripheral. Right.
and they're gonna have health problems.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
I'm just going on the devil's
Yeah.
advocate on the
Yeah.
other side,
Yeah.
the other side of the argument, on the other side of the aisle, right? But I just think I think growing up the way we grew up, the last sort of generation is probably
I'm glad we grew up when we did.
it's
to be
lost.
honest.
It's lost
Yeah.
for one, and it was just better.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's better. I'm glad for the most part, I'm glad that we grew up when we did.
I mean, we might be behind when
Yeah.
it comes to like the metaverse and things like that. We might be less.
I don't think I'm behind. I just don't buy into it entirely.
No, but I mean, we might be less quick to
Yeah.
to adopt it.
Yeah.
than say this,
I just adopted
cat
from-
or even somebody.
I adopted from an investment perspective, and that's
Sure.
it. And that's it.
But you're looking at it that way, like, which I'm with you too.
Yeah.
I would want to get in on that. I would
It
want to.
definitely seems like something that's going to
Why
be.
can't you
very
capitalize on it?
prominent.
Even if you don't agree with it, capitalize on it. It's not
Yeah.
morally wrong, but so, and I'm okay with that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's basically starting a little fruit stand.
Yeah.
I'll be the fruit stand guy.
The fruit stand in the
In the
metaverse.
metaverse.
They're selling meta fruits.
Oh, you need a
Virtual
pick.
fruits.
You need a pickaxe. I got one.
I got some
I
pickaxe.
got pickaxes.
Yeah.
I'm not buying your Minecraft pickaxe. Get out
Yeah.
of here. Your little pixely pickaxe.
Yeah.
Probably sold for $1 million as an NFT. So
You probably
Minecraft
could.
diamond pickaxe.
So somebody I know, their son bought a fraction of an NFT.
Yeah.
Like $250 or something. I forget what it was, but yeah. Oh, they're cheap, man. Look at that Beeple guy, man.
That's a good idea,
You
actually.
heard of that Beeple guy?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Actually, they're doing that same with art that's really pricey. They're doing sort of like we were talking about fractionalizing real estate. They're starting to do that with
I
art that's
know.
expensive, which is not a bad idea because that's one of those things that fall into hedges. Like they say, art, real estate, assets such as gold and silver.
Precious
Again,
metals.
this is where it all starts. The whole house of cards starts to come down for me. They used to say that. Yeah. There used to be value in things like that.
Sure.
There used to be value in a Rembrandt or whatever, right? Or,
Sure.
But who's to say that means shit anymore?
Doesn't.
You got this Beeple guy making NFTs and selling them. Like, what do you make? $80 million in NFTs or some shit?
I don't know how much he
Like
is.
it's stupid the money he's making.
it's
on
stupid.
NFTs. And he's constantly making them, right? Because he's very good at making them. Apparently, I've never actually seen them. I don't know.
The most dangerous thing you can do though is just sit there in cash and not do anything though,
Right.
and be paralyzed with fear. You kind of have to act because if you're having 7% inflation,
No, I get it.
Yeah.
it's chomping away at your assets.
But I just think that
Buying power is just decreasing.
Exactly.
we're at a tipping point at this point. We're at the precipice. We either go one way or the other. Either we see all this shit and we go, this is too far. Technology's going too far. We're way too immersed in this shit. And people go, no, I'm rejecting it completely. I'm going to go back to the trades and going back. You know what I mean? Like I'll trade being able to build you a deck
Mhm.
for you being able to provide X service for me.
Barter.
You're a dentist.
Bartering.
Or something. Yeah, exactly. So you get people going to that, and you get people that just immerse themselves in
Yeah.
it.
I think it's going to be the latter.
But I think if people immerse themselves in it, I think we might lose humanity.
I think so. I think we started a machine that you can't stop.
Right.
I think we're, definitely, trending towards the latter. Because look at the whole point you just brought up about kids immersing themselves in this stuff.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are going to be leading the future, and they're the ones that are immersed in this shit.
Yeah.
You're not going to disconnect children from this.
No.
Parents don't have and part of it falls
Who's
on.
gonna build shit?
Part of it falls on part falls on parenting though. It's part of it falls on parenting.
Not even build shit. That's new stuff. Who's going to maintain the infrastructure that
Right.
exists? That we rely on.
Like if let's say you've got, what do we got? Almost 8 billion people on the planet right now.
Yeah.
Let's say in 20 years we have 9 billion, 10 billion people on the planet.
Mhm.
I don't think it's going that way though, because the birth rates are down overall, which is staggering, which is weird. They didn't see that coming. But anyways, let's just read each of the math. You get 10 billion people on the planet, and 8.5 billion of them are plugged into the metaverse or some virtual world.
The Matrix.
Who the hell, out of the leftover 1.5 billion, are going to be taking care of everything? Like, we're going to have
Klaus
to.
Schwab and his
Well, we'll have
buddies.
to have robots.
Well, you're
essentially.
gonna have to incentivize people more to
That's
do that
true.
kind of stuff.
The robots are a game changer.
Yeah, AI is gonna be a game changer.
But then, what's your incentive if you're living in a world where it's
Yeah. Your
where there's-
incentive is video games incentive.
UBI.
Is to get points.
I think
for
that
whatever.
spawns.
No,
I think that spawns UBI.
I
I
agree.
mean, yeah. The AI and the robots spawn UBI, but it's like, what do you as a human being do?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be video games. It's gonna be your meaning is gonna come from getting points in a game, or getting good at Call of Duty.
Yep.
In the metaverse.
Unless you can socially isolate yourself on an island somewhere with a community of people. I mean, I think
Yeah.
you're gonna.
Yeah.
Which is
But then even then,
which actually
that
doesn't.
sounds sad to me though.
You know what though? It does sound sad, but it actually sounds better than fucking what's coming too. Right?
Well, that sounds.
Yeah.
One sounds better than the other.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I would like to go out.
I like
Yeah.
to go out. I'm
Leave
a
the
hike.
planet.
Go hike. Do my shit.
No, I mean like leave the planet.
Oh, leave the planet. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Like venture out into the universe.
I wouldn't want to
instead
do it
of,
alone.
instead of going inside. Instead of building a virtual reality, I'd rather go into explore more of reality.
That's what I mean. I'd rather live in reality. Keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But
I like a lot of people being around me though.
Yeah.
So if most of the people are plugged into some bullshit,
But again, you said though, people of our generation, we're not going to be plugged into that as much as.
we're gonna die off.
True.
Yeah.
Like we're.
You don't got that many years left.
So who cares? So you die.
Yeah, I guess that's.
What do you care at that point?
I guess that's true.
What do you care
part
when you
of it,
die?
right?
Nobody.
I just
No,
listen.
you don't know what's going on when you die.
I want to die before all this really hits a head. It's
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of it. Like not a heavy part of it.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind. Again,
Yeah.
I don't mind the space if it's there and people are partaking in it.
I think it's going to build, but it's sort of like eradication of cash. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think in a decade you're gonna see the difference.
That's pretty much overnight, man.
For us,
decade, imagine a decade.
Yeah.
Well, just if you take the curve on technology,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's what we've done in the last 100 years. Never mind 100 years, even in the last 30 years, what we've done.
Fuck, the last fucking 20 years.
But exactly,
It's-
you're making my
it's
point even
15
stronger for me.
years.
It's going to be
5
it's
years.
That's
like
what I'm
this.
saying. You're making my point
Yeah,
even
it's-
stronger for me. So
Exponentially towards
it might only take where it would have normally taken
towards the
20 years. It might take
singularity.
2 years.
Yeah.
To do the same sort of shit, right? Because
Well, think about for how many, like even just going back a few hundred years. Think about for how many hundreds of years things operated the way they were, and then there was the Industrial Revolution, and that changed fucking everything.
Yeah.
And then technology. But you think about how long people did things without
The same
change,
way.
the same way.
What do you think was the after the Industrial Revolution? What do you think was the next biggest catalyst? Do you think it was the internet?
No, I think that's just too far of a big gap. But I don't know. I don't know. I think the Industrial Revolution definitely changed things. I think line production definitely changed things.
Yeah, the assembly line.
The assembly line. Ford actually, the Model T Ford was actually, I believe, one of the first auto assembly lines.
Yeah.
One of the first
But then after that-
mass-produced things.
Yeah, one of the first ones produced
What do you
things.
think is after that?
Good
Atomic
question.
bomb, maybe?
I don't know.
Well, because that spurned on all kinds of different
Yeah, but that was a different
scientific.
kind of thing.
Well,
that
once they
it
realized they could
spurred
split the
on.
atom, though,
Yeah.
now you have almost like limitless power. I mean, it's not limitless, but
Yeah. It's hard to say. I'm not.
but then it might be the internet.
Yeah.
The internet's
It
definitely
just seems like such a
It's
large.
long-
there.
It seems like such a long gap.
Yeah.
There has to be something there. I don't know what it is.
I know. That's what I mean. Like I don't know.
TV.
TV. Yeah, I was thinking color TV.
TV, radio, and TV.
Well, but the thing is,
then
radio's been
existed.
around for a long
Yeah,
time.
radio existed before.
Radio existed, in the
Only 100
1800s.
years.
No.
No, not like it is.
Not like it is,
Where
but
everybody has a radio in there.
No.
It's probably 100 years that everyone has.
So
a
not
radio in
1800s.
their
I mean,
house.
late
1940s.
1800s.
late 1800s.
World War One, I think, is when the first radios were kind of created to kind of communicate
No,
on
it
the
was before
battlefield.
No,
I
but he
think-
means
I
on a
think it was
different
World War-
scale.
No, I think it was World War
Oh.
One innovation that kind of
He means on a different scale.
Oh, on a different scale.
yeah. And then you had by World War Two, everybody had a radio in their home, and that revolutionized
telephone?
communication.
Well, telephone's 1895.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the telephone was a big one, and then you have radio, and then you have television, and then you have the internet.
Yeah, but I
think.
still don't think it's as big as say the internet or something. Like the
It's
internet.
not as
think about,
big as
as
the
big.
internet.
Like-
It's just for the time.
I'm sure
it's
you missed
comparable.
something.
So but you think about it this way. Well, I mean, maybe the internet will go the way of the telephone.
Hmm.
Maybe it'll go like that too, right? It'll have a certain amount of time period and then it just dies. Because realistically, the telephone's kind of gone. I mean, we still have it now, but
It's
it's a smartphone.
different.
It's a different thing
It's a
altogether.
different
right?
thing
So maybe
altogether.
that's what will happen. The internet will maybe Neuralink.
Yeah,
Maybe Neuralink
Everyone will
is
just
the
be
new
connected.
internet now.
But you still have
It'll be
the
the
infrastructure of the internet. You still have Neuralink can't just work on its own. You have to have grids
Yeah.
to work. So the internet's always going to be, I think,
People
around.
are
It's just
still
good.
putting things
It's like the
on it.
phone's always around. Like the internet's going to be always around. It's just going to be in a different format.
Yeah, but imagine if the internet now, instead of being something where you go to look for information or people posting things, it's just
it's
information.
just there.
Just
It's
there.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's a
It's
part
just
of
a
you.
catalog
It's a
of information
tertiary.
that's there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a tertiary layer of cognition.
Yeah.
And then if
is
there's
the internet.
something, there's something.
And there's maybe AI in there mediating
Fuck.
the communication
Can
between.
you imagine that though? Then if all of a sudden something new happened, everybody knows
That's
instantaneously.
so scary.
Yeah.
That's so fucked.
That's some fucked up shit, man.
That's
Like
a
we're
fuck-
already
yeah.
kind of partially there, right? Something happens, everybody hears about it. It's in the media, right? And
Unless you check though. But if it's there, like if I don't
It's
check
just
my phone,
instantly
like
there.
if you
Yeah,
tell
you
me
don't
some
know
piece of
about it.
news that happened 2 days ago and I didn't check my phone, I wouldn't know about it. But now, if it's there,
I can't see it going like that though. That's like a fucking. Think about the overload of information on your brain. I don't think we could take it.
But
your brain would blow
think
up.
about what people even said about when they first entered. You can't see it that way, but that's what people said about
No,
the internet.
but I
and
mean-
that's what people
That's
said
true.
But
about
the internet, you go and search it. You
Yeah.
have to there's a control. But if that shit's coming to you,
But is it really that much of a stretch?
And it does fuck with people with the algorithms and scrolling through, Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Man, Facebook was experimenting on people.
Yeah.
how much time they spend on there? And stuff?
No, they were like feeding them certain types of content to see their reaction. Facebook actually may have violated the Nuremberg rules. Yeah, like they may have literally violated sort of international war laws.
I'm not even on there anymore. I haven't been on there for months,
I
maybe a year.
I don't use Facebook at all. I have it. I don't use it.
I rarely
I'm
use it.
afraid of it.
I just, you know what I do? I watch videos of it. That's honestly what I do. Or I say happy birthday to people.
See,
there's no other platforms for watching videos.
I'm not afraid of it because the thing is, if you're afraid of Facebook, then you should be afraid of
We're
Google.
not on Facebook as far as this yet.
Like,
We'll have to at some point.
No, I don't think you should be afraid of Facebook. And I mean, if anything, you should be afraid of other things too, like Google. And you can't avoid all that shit. Like even Google, if you have like a Gmail account or you use Google, I mean, you're being constantly monitored. Like these devices, and Facebook's no different either. So
Creepy. They listen.
oh yeah.
I've been everything I say.
Yeah.
I get a product that somehow relates to it.
Well, like even like if I go on ESPN, for example, like check out sports, because I like sports, and so if I bought something recently, like off Amazon, for work or whatever, I'll see like an ad banner on my ESPN page of what I fucking purchased.
Yeah.
It's just like, holy fuck!
Yeah.
How scary is that? Like on every different page.
I think it's scary, but at the same time, I think it's convenient too.
Yeah.
I do. I like it. I don't even turn it off. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I don't care. But I mean, I'm not at an importance level where I think anybody really gives a shit about what I'm doing.
No.
But if I was,
But it's just the invasiveness.
Right.
It's just in like intimate moments, right?
Yeah.
It's listening to that. So if you have like a phone or in your room and you're having sex, right? It's listening to that.
Imagine a graded you. Spend a little more time.
But that kind of bothers
me. A
me.
little more cunnilingus, buddy.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well,
She ain't happy.
She's not happy.
We read
That kind of shit. But
we read her biometrics, and she's not happy. Oh, you thought you made her come?
Man.
Sorry, buddy.
Have you heard this story where
that kind of shit's creepy though.
Oh,
have you heard this story? There was this girl, I guess, she lived with her parents, and she was pregnant, and she didn't know that she was pregnant. But Facebook was like recommending
Oh god.
like
hilarious.
tests because Facebook knew that she was pregnant based on her like shift in what she was searching for and clicking on. Facebook knew that she was pregnant and
That's fucked
was
up.
doing something, and then based on ads, that's how like her dad found it or something. It was so fucking weird, so creepy. This story,
That's pretty weird, man.
because it's
That's
like
pretty
even if you
fucked up.
do know that, even if you have that information, just don't. Like, why are you using it?
You guys watch Black Mirror, or have you watched Black Mirror?
I don't watch. I don't cable.
Oh,
so I
buddy,
don't-
it's
so
on
I don't-
Netflix.
I don't have Netflix.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I have YouTube. I love YouTube. I get all my shit off YouTube as far as streaming and
Cool.
and
Black Mirror's on there.
podcasts.
You've seen it, right? You've watched it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love
Yeah,
Black.
Actually, I don't have Netflix because I use this. Actually, no, I'm not going to say this. I'll tell you the site later. That's free. So,
Everything we're talking about.
Go to that site and watch Black Mirror.
Everything
Okay.
we're
'Cause
talking
Black
about.
Mirror is
man,
incredible.
It's fucking it's there.
Well, it's terrifying and
Yeah.
like a dystopian kind of.
Oh yeah.
Black Mirror it takes like technologies and things that are.
what is it, like a sitcom? Like, or is it like what's the premise of it? Or is it like
The premise is
technology
it's a
series?
show. Yeah, so each episode is basically like a movie. It's like an hour to like
Okay.
2 hours.
All right.
And it takes place in the same universe each episode, but they're all independent. And it presents a like a futuristic concept or technology. I guess
They
one
did social credit
one
score.
example
Yeah.
they've done that, but one example is there's like an implant that they put into the child, so that the mother can see everything that the child sees and has all of their readings, like their blood levels and everything, and can like censor stressful things. And so it basically just explores the effects of that, like what that does to a child and how
You'd really like this show. It's
No, it sounds like
it's good. It's
no.
good.
really
I'll check it out because
Yeah.
it sounds like something I would be into.
It's good.
totally good.
Yeah.
It's like it's basically like taking
the
all these
episodes.
ideas.
Oh man, I don't even know that I should, but a lot of the episodes end
Yeah, don't
with
tell
like
him anything. Don't
what
tell
the
him
fuck.
anything, man.
Yeah, don't tell me anything.
The ending's
Yeah.
like what the fuck.
Yeah,
It's
don't ruin it
not.
for him. Don't be a spoiler jerk.
I'm not spoiling anything. I'm just saying the endings.
He's sold. He's sold on
The
it.
endings are like a what the fuck kind
Now
of ending
you're- now
instead of
you're
like,
over-
oh okay,
No.
it ended.
Yeah, now you're overselling to the point where you just
Now we
wanna
let it
tell
lie.
things.
Now we just let it
Yeah,
lie.
exactly.
Listen.
He's trying to tell you. Okay, let me just keep selling it.
Yeah.
I want to tell you.
Watch it.
Okay, so episode 3. This is what
In
happens.
season 2, episode 3. There's an episode with Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keep telling more.
It's not that
keep
great
telling
of an
more.
episode,
That one
but
sucks. I hate that
it's
one.
not bad.
I don't
It's an
like
interesting idea,
Yeah,
but it's
I just don't like the execution of that episode.
yeah, maybe they could have done it better.
But yeah, there's gonna be a couple are hit and miss, but there are some. Most of them are hits.
Yeah.
Most of them are really, really good, and it's
Just-
all so poignant to like what's
Does.
actually happening, different things,
Well, some
and
of
you
them
can
are.
see. Well, yeah, I guess I shouldn't say all.
Some of them are more out there, but
many of them are very poignant to what's actually happening, and you're like, holy shit! Like, this is. Have you ever watched the show Life After Humans? I think it is. Or what, is that the one?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
It
Yeah,
shows
I
what the
don't
Earth would look
remember.
like
Yeah.
if we just
I know what you're talking.
were
I don't think it's called that, but it's something.
Yeah, something like that.
there's
Life
like a
after-
1 day,
yeah,
1
yeah,
week.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. When you watch it, you go like, I can see it going exactly like this.
Yeah.
That I love that show. That show was really cool. And then what I liked about that show I'm talking about, I don't know if I'm on the right name of it, but I liked that it would then show you sort of an example of it. It would go, okay, well here's like Chernobyl. So I guess there was a spot where all the people that worked there lived, and then it's been vacant from like humans for like the last 70, 80 years.
I remember
or whatever.
watching that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember
it
that.
shows you what happened, how
Yep.
everything overgrew, and
Kind of neat.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite interesting stuff. But
That kind of stuff is very interesting.
yeah, but it's scary too because it points to
So
a
Black
dystopian-
Mirror again? or-
Black Mirror, yeah.
Black Mirror. Okay.
It points to a dystopian sort of world, and we're kind of.
And you can watch any episode. You don't have to like start season
Yeah,
1,
yeah.
episode 1. You can
Yeah,
pick
because
any
they're all
episode.
separate mini episodes. Yeah, it's not like a series where you have to
none
start.
of them
yeah,
none of them tie into each other.
Well, they kind of do, but it's not like they do.
one's
They do in like there will be mentions of things that have happened, but it's not
Oh,
like relevant.
maybe, yeah.
It's not relevant to the plot of
No.
any individual episode.
No.
But yeah.
Cool.
It's like they all take place in the same universe at different points in time too, which is interesting. But
Cool.
yeah,
Check that out.
Are we done talking about crypto? Or we went right into the metaverse.
I know we kind of
We
went into
always
the
do that. Like,
dystopian.
it's hard to not like. There's so many
dystopian
different things
future.
that relate right
Yeah.
to each other, and then you go into a little side.
Well, let's go into what do you think is going to happen with Bitcoin right now?
I
It's
think-
crashing right now. Do you
Yeah,
think
it's-
we're going to see a bottom at a certain point?
Yeah, and the thing is, like,
You think it could hit $1 million or?
yeah, I think if people look up, this is actually really neat. Plan B. It's called the stock to flow ratio. If people, Plan B is basically another, I guess, pseudonymous guy. Like you don't know who he is.
Plan B is something you take after
Yeah.
you put a deposit in a one
Yeah.
guy.
So they have this thing. They have this thing which relates to Bitcoin, which is a stock to flow ratio. And I don't know if you want to pull it up because the chart is just fascinating. Just type in
Type in Plan B.
Plan B
I
stock.
don't know that Plan B
It'll
is
probably
gonna,
come up the wrong.
Yeah,
Plan B.
no, type in Plan B
Oh,
stock.
a $55 pill.
Plan B, Plan B stock to flow ratio. And then you're gonna want to look at images, and I'll explain stock to flow. There you go. It comes up
Right
as
at the top.
stock to flow model. Now go to images.
Once it loads up.
Once it loads up,
is a lot slower than that.
What's that? Oh, bottom of those. Holding it back.
Oh,
Listen, it
did that
is-
affect?
Oh, it probably did.
Probably. Let's
Probably
check that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now Tyler's not in the shot anymore.
There we
yeah,
go.
there you go.
There
That's
we go.
good enough.
All right.
We could have just left Tyler out too.
Could have done that.
It'd probably be better off. Okay.
I'm gonna go vacate the main vein.
All right. So what am I clicking on?
Go to images. So I don't know if Alex wants to hear this, but I'll tell it afterwards. Okay. Because this is really fascinating. So click on any of those images. It doesn't matter. Maybe the second one there. The second one's really nice.
We'll get there. Don't worry.
We'll get there sometime within the next few minutes. Because the whole point really it gets illustrated well once you see the image itself. So,
Click on the actual image.
holy fuck, I've never seen internet this slow. But I'm used
Well,
to 5G though, because I got a 5G phone, right? So it's blazing
Yeah.
quick.
It's just like 2008 internet.
Yeah. Yeah, this 5G is unfucking believable. I bought the Samsung S21. Holy crap, it's fast.
You see the airlines were complaining about 5G or something? There was like big stink that they were making about it, and so I guess AT&T has slowed down their rollout of 5G, canceled some bill. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it.
People are fickle, eh? People just complain about fucking everything. People don't.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my good God.
It's going. It's going.
That towel's wet. It's probably only because of Art.
Oh yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for
For wiping my.
for washing your hands, because he doesn't wash his hands. He comes out and he wipes his hands on everything.
Yeah. And you know
He's a
what?
dirty little
You know what happens?
monkey.
I don't get sick ever.
You're a dirty little monkey.
Yeah. And I don't get
You're
sick.
not transcending.
Oh,
So-
I'm transcending.
So sometime in the millennium, this image is gonna load, but I'll explain.
Wow, why is this taking so long?
It's ridiculous.
It's your internet. You tell me.
Oh, because I made the internet.
Yes, you did. This internet, you made it. You
Yeah,
created
dickhead.
it. You
Well,
built
I
it with
ran
your.
the
You built it with your own hands.
I ran
didn't
all
you?
the wires.
Maybe go to like a different image. Go back to that.
Oh man, we are not.
We're not
should
going back
not.
there.
Not
We're
go
going
back
back
at this
anywhere.
We
We're
are
plowing-
too deep.
We are
at this
plowing ahead,
point.
man.
At this point, it will load eventually.
What are we supposed to be seeing here, Art? Why don't you tell us?
Well, it's kind of really brings it home if we could show it. But basically,
It'll get there.
It'll get up eventually. Yeah.
so I'll
There we
explain.
go.
Oh,
Wait, we got something.
We should
Holy.
bitch about it enough, I think.
see, once you have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, you gotta somehow nail down this internet issue, right?
Talk to him on.
Oh, it's
on
fine.
track.
It's
You need to get satellite.
usually-
You need to get satellite internet. That's what you need.
Yeah.
You know,
We
but
don't-
then,
we
but
don't
then,
have 100,000.
but
We have
then,
100,000 viewers.
yeah,
That's usually what we're getting. Typically 100,000, 150,000.
yeah. Divide by
Yeah.
10,000.
More than that, divide by 150,000.
It's like, wait, hold on. Is that nobody? Aww.
It's a little more than nobody,
I
but
feel like there's one at least.
Maybe we can just use that chart. Unfortunately,
it should.
You're gonna screw things up. You're already screwing it up.
That's what I do here. All right.
Awful.
So it's on the screen. People
Okay,
can
so-
see it. So
so this guy Plan B, we don't know who he is. He
Oh,
divided.
it's another Naka-
John.
Yeah, exactly.
Naga
I know him.
what
That's
is it?
John. He's my buddy John.
Yeah,
But-
Nakamura Nakasaki.
So basically, like a stock to flow ratio, you can apply it to like everything. Like so, basically, let's say gold, for example. You have a known inventory of gold in the world that we know that's there above ground that has been mined,
Sure.
right? We know on a yearly basis what gets mined. So basically, all it is you take you take your stock that you have, your reserves that you have, and divide it by 1 year's production to get a ratio. And the whole theory is, the higher the ratio, the more rare
Sure.
the item is, because so gold has like a ratio of, I think, 53. So basically, it takes 53 years of production to meet current reserves.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a ratio of 1 to 1,
Yeah.
it's not very,
Yeah.
you know, it's not very rare. So
Basically, it's like.
so
awful.
Bitcoin they take that same ratio based on coins in circulation and how many coins are mined each year. You know, it has the same ratio of gold, right? And they're saying that that's sort of, it's relatively. I think Bitcoin's 58, gold's 63. So they're pretty much.
Okay, so people are still mining Bitcoin. I
Yeah.
thought Bitcoin
No.
was done
Oh
essentially.
no, because remember the halving units?
No.
It started
Oh.
at 50. Started at 50,
Right.
25, 12.5.
Now
Now
we're
we're
up big now.
oh, there we go. But look at this guy. So this is basically his model of what he predicted. The white line is his model of what he predicted Bitcoin price would be, and the scattered, the plots.
Wow, he's actually almost right on.
And look
point.
at 2010. Like look, it's a 10-year fucking model where this guy's like the correlation. They said it's like 0.95, which is ridiculous. It's a confidence interval of
How the hell
95%.
is he predicting this so long?
Exactly. That's right. And look where it's going. Right.
That's sick.
So there's no reason. I mean, we've
This
DB.
guy's Nostradamus as far as.
Oh, it's insane, right? It's insane what this guy's
He predicted this from 2010?
Yeah.
So he's saying it's going to be flat until 2024.
Yeah, because the halving, right? 'Cause you notice the halving periods? You notice the period that's flat for 4
Yeah.
years? That's all takes place during the halving, right? So the next halving cycle is when it goes up again. Because you're increasing the ratio, right? Because the thing is, like, each year you're mining less Bitcoin, so therefore the ratio, if you take your denominator, and if your denominator is smaller, your overall number is going to be larger. So,
Yeah.
So what are the white dots at the bottom?
I don't know what that means. I'll be completely
What's that
honest.
saying? It's multiple.
52F multiple.
Stock to flow multiple,
Bitcoin
BT price
price
divided by stock to flow. I don't
what
know.
that means.
But I think that's the correlation. I think that's the no. Yeah, that could be the like the closer value to 1, because you notice how hovers around 1. Maybe they're using that as a sort of
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's that model that's important.
So he put this graph out
Before this actually occurred.
before this occurred.
Yeah.
And that's 100%
Yeah.
verified. You can verify that 100%.
Yeah. It's fucked up. I don't know. They just verified. I don't know how. I don't know who knows this
Who's
guy.
verified it?
I don't know. It's just
That's,
apparent.
yeah,
I don't. Well, I'm just going on based on
No,
what's.
I get it.
Yeah.
But because that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like if you did that with any stock,
Yeah. Yeah.
you would be.
A billionaire.
Well, I mean, like.
But it makes sense
though.
though, because it's
If you could do that, if you could reproduce that, like, unless he just got
Yeah.
absolutely butt fuck lucky,
Well, what he's saying is it's going to be at 100,000.
or it's,
But it should already be at 100,000.
Yeah, we're off a little bit. It's
we're
not
at
a-
could be
2022.
causation.
well, it's not a perfect model, but you look at the
Yeah.
well, even over here.
Maybe this is causation.
Well,
Maybe
even-
it's following that trend because he made this.
Even over
Seems
here.
unlikely.
Yeah.
I know,
Even
kidding.
there it's off. But
Yeah.
so
Interesting.
the last two crashes were 2015 and 2018, right? And the thing is, like, there are substantial crashes. 2015 was 75%. 2018 was 80%. But you look at the overall trend of the price of Bitcoin. I'm not concerned about the dips, because the thing is, it's a volatile asset. It's going to keep doing these erratic sort of corrections. But you got to look at the overall. People can't get into this and say, okay, I'm going to flip this in a month. That's not the purpose of it.
Right.
You get into this because it's a long-term asset. That's how I have to view it, right? You don't worry about what's going on now. You don't worry about the price volatility. If you can stomach that, because my buddy Sheldon, like, he got into, and I said to him, I said, one thing you got to realize when you get in this space, and people have to realize, if you can't stomach volatility, then you can't stomach being in this asset class, and that's why maybe you shouldn't put that much money into it. But you have to look at the long-term trend, because there have been massive, if you look at the massive corrections, there have been massive corrections on the way up. So this is what we're going through, is not,
But again, like I said earlier,
yeah.
would it matter if you're only trying to go for units?
No, of course not. You don't care. But I'm saying, but
You don't care about dollars.
but psychologically, we care about. Psychologically, we don't think about units. We psychologically think about price. We think
Yeah.
about dollars and
Yeah.
cents, right? It's just the way we're wired,
Yeah.
right? So that's what people panic sell, because they're not thinking about units. They're thinking about, oh my god, the dollar and value sense of this, right?
So now here's another sort of devil's advocate end of it. If you didn't get into this space at all, right? If you just didn't, and everything sort of tanks. Let's say fiat currency tanks, and this all sort of writes out in some way, and then it becomes Bitcoin ends up becoming the
reserve currency.
the reserve currency. Then, what if when it becomes the reserve currency, it's already pre-tanked essentially, and then any value, any pseudo value that you've gained by putting fiat currency in it over the time period is devalued as well. So like all of your work to money that you put in to that is now kind of gone, and you're holding Bitcoin that's now devalued later.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because realistically, when you break down value, it comes down to trade-off of somebody's time for X, right? You can fuck around all different things you want to do. It doesn't matter what you use. It comes down to somebody doing something. If you take the somebody out of the equation and you put a robot in there or something, then it changes the dynamic completely. But for now, let's use human to human. Like if I do something for you, it's worth a certain amount of money or whatever to me to do that, to do X. So if all this sort of were to tank with everything else, whether you got in it or not would be irrelevant, because you'd be in it later anyway.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like if dollars went gone, dollars just tomorrow went
I
gone.
think if everything tanks, you got bigger issues than worry about
You gotta worry about
Bitcoin.
where you're getting your
But we
food.
already think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
We already think that the fiat currency is going to.
No, yeah.
Like we're going into an economic collapse.
Well, you're gonna have.
So it's almost like a rebuild.
I believe like you're gonna have two different currencies.
So the only thing that will matter other than currency would be like real estate, because everybody's got to have somewhere to live or build things or do things.
unless they can expropriate
farmable land.
Farmable land.
Well, the only problem is though, in the United
tools.
Tools.
Well,
Yep.
Tools.
well, here's the issue with real estate though, and I guess you can make this argument for any asset class. It's government can expropriate. They can introduce.
They can expropriate.
They can introduce
Expropriate.
if they can introduce emergency measures during this 19 bullshit. Think about the extraordinary measures they can introduce, and I've heard of this already, where they might consider expropriation of land, from certain people.
Yeah.
But that could happen. It happened with gold. Like it happened in 1934. There was a collection, and the government said people are prohibited from privately owning gold. So basically, they expropriated gold from people, and what they did the day after is, so they gave people. I think it was. I'm going to be wrong on the values, but I think they gave them $20 per ounce when they, and then the next day they marked up the price to $35 per ounce after they expropriated it.
Evil. That's fucking evil.
Yeah. So who's to say?
Well, that's
so what is safe?
Well,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
there's the centralized point essentially when you allow government to control anything, right? And that's why I understand the decentralization of Bitcoin and that. But realistically, how do you keep something unless you kept it a complete fucking secret from government?
Yeah.
And everybody knew about it, and government didn't know about it, and then everything collapsed, and everybody went, "Oh well, guess what we got?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if government controls it anyway, they do whatever the fuck they want with it.
Yeah, but I mean, you can, if that collapses and everything collapses, I mean, shit, you got bigger problems.
Yeah.
I think.
But some things don't ever really change.
Like I said,
tangible.
tangible things could change.
No. I'm saying when I say tangible, I don't mean like, oh, this has got X value
that's
worth.
right.
I'm saying, land. There's a certain amount, and we all need it.
Agreed. But again,
If you could bottle
there's
it,
already, but again, there's already been talk of expropriation of land too. So
Yeah.
government can do that too.
yeah.
And they're going to think of all kinds of crazy ways before.
It's a lot harder if you have an armed populace.
That's what I'm saying.
You know?
Yeah.
They're gonna all think of all kinds of ways to. They're even talking about taxation. Get this is ridiculous. They're talking about the whole environmental movement. They're talking about taxation on every kilometer that you drive. Putting some kind of like regulator unit inside your vehicle.
Another carbon
Yeah,
tax.
it's fucking like
Insane.
You can only drive a certain.
We can't progress in other measures when it comes to when it comes to functions of government. When it comes to taxations, I mean, there's no fucking problems there. That's what drives me nuts about it.
Yeah.
All right, that's another
That's another podcast.
That's another podcast, right?
Yeah,
Taxation.
it's a whole other thing.
But I mean,
I just think when you break it all down, it comes down to essentially the value of someone's time and what they can do with that time.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a skill and that skill is relatable in some way, or if you have a tool that's able to do something, this kind of stuff. Although I'm with you, like I think you should have some.
yeah, just don't put all of it.
You should have some.
I'm a realist.
I think it could be just as much chance of it being worth X. It could be worthless too.
Sure, I agree.
Because it's all tied to what could be essentially a worthless asset.
I believe.
Cash.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like when you tie stuff like so even if
It's not tied to cash though.
No, but hold on. But even if like you look at like the 2008 real estate bubble collapsing, right? You had real estate going from X to Y, right? It's nobody wanted it anymore, right? It was like because there was a surplus of that.
Well, it's because the subprime mortgage teaser rates
Yeah.
expired, and then you had repackaged bullshit inside.
Right. What I'm saying though is, if the people that lost are the people that like sold off properties and things like that, anybody who just held that property, it's always going to come back, right?
Yeah.
Like it has a value. No matter what, it always will have a value. The land itself has a value, whether you have a building on it or not. It has a value. You can take it away in the short term, but you can't take away its long-term value.
No, I agree, but I'm saying it could be taken from you.
The only way you could, I guess, is if we made the planet barren.
Yeah, my argument is just it can just like anything else, it could be taken away from you.
Yeah, but again, like he said, it can't be taken away from you if you're armed.
The problem is though, like you think about this 19 bullshit, and you think there'd be more resistance, and people are falling in line, and so are we gonna resist? I was shocked, especially in Europe. I thought there'd be a lot more resistance to this. I was shocked how.
But nobody's taking people's homes from them.
Yeah, but they're taking their liberty. I'd rather.
Yeah, but you're taking your liberty at a piece at a time. It's not like.
To me, my liberty is more important than my home.
I agree.
So you're taking the worst thing you could take from someone is your liberty, and everybody's passive about it.
Look what we've done in Canada.
Yeah. No, but
Look where we're at right now.
Yeah.
But you've had it taken away slowly.
But that's what I mean, though. But my point is, you're taking away. Yeah, land's tangible. It's nice, but it's not your liberty, right? It's my liberty is my most important asset to me. You know,
Yeah, but
aside
I think,
from time. Aside
I know. I think out of all the things, though, I think it would be the last. It would be the last to be taken.
I just find it funny
I
that
think everything else could be devalued.
I just find it funny how people could get up in uproar about taking away a physical possession before their liberty.
Yeah, because they don't see it. It's done in such small doses.
But do you see what I mean, though? Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
I agree, but we all did it. We all went, 15 days of slow spread. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And we all went, that sounds
different
reasonable.
sensibilities.
Yeah.
A lot of people would rather have safety or perceived safety.
Yeah.
And be enslaved.
Yep.
Yeah,
a lot of
you're
people
right.
would.
No, you're right, though.
willingly
And that's
trade that
sad. It's sad. It's sad, but
Yeah.
you're right. But yeah, getting back to, sorry, it was sidetracked to
Yeah.
$1 million. I mean, like I said way earlier, if it's worth a market cap of 700 billion right now and it represents 0.1% of the assets, worldwide assets, I mean, I don't think it's much of a stretch to, say, even if it's worth 1%, you're nearing $1 million at that point.
Yeah.
So
It's just it's like anybody who's ever done like forex trading or that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
They'll tell you it takes a stomach because you just don't know what that shit.
Mhm.
It's tied to so many different
of course it does.
variables.
One little.
That's
thing
why you remove.
Right.
That's why you remove the emotion from it by basically investing something that you could afford to invest in and not worry about it.
This
So
is like forex on fucking steroids.
yeah, but thing is,
Yeah.
but that's why you invest. But that's why you invest. If you're going to go on a family trip, you put your $2,000 or $3,000 that you're going on a family trip and maybe put into Bitcoin. It's an amount. You could lose it and it's not going to completely crush you. And, change your standard of life, and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But, and I said this to you earlier, and it's a completely asymmetric investment, right? It could go to zero, but it could also,
Yeah,
who knows
it's
what
like
it could.
venture stocks when we
Yeah.
were first investing.
But
Venture
that-
stocks
but-
and pink slips and stuff.
But that's why you don't put all your assets into Bitcoin.
yeah. No,
That's why you allocate. And
I'm a risk taker
Yeah.
type person with
But I think-
stock and things like that. So I have no problem. I'm being the devil's advocate when I'm
Yeah.
speaking about this because I know the questions because I've gotten them before from people, and especially being in a financial space.
well, that's a different space, though. And that's a different capital commitment.
No, I'm saying I've gotten questions about Bitcoin and crypto and stuff.
But like I said, if you have a capital commitment of 1 or 2% of your portfolio,
Yeah.
if it gets crushed, do you worry about 1 or 2%?
Some people do.
Okay,
A lot of
but
people do.
Yeah.
I don't.
But
I
most
don't.
but most people, by and large, can
Yeah.
shit. You spend some people. Look how many people spend money on gambling and all that kind of
I
shit.
used to get phone calls, man. Somebody would be like, I looked, last month at my investments. They were at like 70,000, and this month they're at 69, just 69 and change or something. They're like, well, what's happening? Why are my investments?
Well, you can't
Yeah.
abuse. You
I'm
can't.
like, you understand that represents like a fucking like less than 2% of
Well,
your.
are those
investment.
people that you can really appease, anyways?
I know, but I'm saying though. But this is the masses, right? These are.
Yeah.
The masses fit in the middle, right? You get people like us that are higher risk taking. Then you get people that are a little bit closer to the middle, and you get people that are a little bit closer to the middle this way. And then you get the absolute risk adverse, right? But most people are in that meaty middle, right?
Yeah.
Slightly risk adverse, slightly risk averse, slightly risk taking, and then
Yeah, I agree.
moderate, right? So that's why you see a lot like moderate funds have the most as far as like your assets under management and mutual funds and stuff. It's all like moderate funds.
Sure, yeah.
Balanced funds, things
Yeah.
like that. They're all the moderate
'cause they're-
bullshit in
yeah.
the middle, right? But most people aren't taking a risk
No, I agree.
on the other side. This is even worse than that. So like
course.
that subsector that
Oh,
would
that's
be
the worst
risky,
thing for volatility. It's the
Right.
worst thing you can invest in.
that subsector that would be in the risky or in the high risk
Mhm.
over here, whatever we could agree, maybe 10% of the population
Mhm.
is even a subsector of that. Is probably 10% of that.
But that's why I say you remove all the worry and risk about it by just putting in an amount that you're not going to be worried about, because people are worried about this shit, but they have no problems going to a casino and dropping $1,000. Some people.
Because they get the entertainment of it.
Yeah.
There's no
It's a
entertainment
thrill.
with this. There's a thrill to that. There's a thrill to the idea that they're going to make money and they're doing something.
This is not for everybody.
No, I know. I know.
This is not for everybody.
No, of course
I
not.
wouldn't sell it like it's for everybody,
Probably
but I
not
think
for most people.
But I think if you put, like I said, if you put that 1 or 2%, I think most people are not going to worry about it too much. And
Yeah.
you're not investing all your capital or the majority of your capital into it.
Yeah.
That's, and the payoff. I mean, to me, it's just I like the, again, and I hate to use that word, asymmetric, because it's such an overused word, but it is an asymmetric investment.
It's overused by you.
Yeah, because it's so true. Because it's so true, right? It's so true. You can.
Yeah, the upside is huge.
The upside is huge, and the downside, if you don't put much into it, is really, it can go to zero.
Well, yeah, the downside is absolute.
Yeah.
But if you only put a small amount in, then yeah. But again, what I said, the upside being huge is in relation to the amount that you put in.
Sure. Of course.
Like
well, then maybe you don't get Bitcoin. Maybe you get a different altcoin with utility.
Right.
You look and do your research. At that point, I think you just need to commit more time to actually researching all this stuff before you put your money into it.
Most people don't want to do that.
Well, that's the problem then. This is not for those people.
Yeah.
You're
going to see a lot of. I think you're going to see if this starts to really kind of take mainstream. If it hits 1 to 2, 3% of total investment type portfolio. You'll see a lot of asset managers that will be, instead of stockbrokers, they'll be crypto brokers. You might be seeing.
Well, it's already starting to happen. Like all the brokers that used to work on Wall Street, that are actually starting. A lot of them are starting to move into crypto because they're making more money in crypto. Yeah. You know.
So, I think once that sort of happens, you'll get the sales end of it more, right? You'll get people being both pressure sailed on it and also explained. Like what you've done in this podcast, honestly, like I know the space decently, but I've learned a lot, even just talking to you answering a lot of different questions. I know just by the way you're explaining, a lot of people that were on sort of the fence of how they understood different things, if they were to watch this, to be like, I understand a little more what that stupid blockchain.
I didn't explain that very well.
Oh, you explained it pretty well.
Not very well.
The idea of the calculations and things.
Ultimately,
not very well, to be honest, because it's my third podcast, so I was a little bit rattled and.
But dumb it down. It's dumbed down pretty well.
Yeah.
Like honestly, if you go back and watch it, you're gonna see that you've dumbed it down pretty well, because even I learned some stuff and I know about that stuff. But you dumbed it down in a way that I was like, I can understand now. I can see how people will get this and the idea and how these calculations are happening, and you're being incentivized to make these for your essentially your miner that's making these calculations. Now you're being incentivized for that, because I think a lot of people didn't understand, and I didn't at first, the idea of mining Bitcoin. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. How do you make this thing out of nothing?
Yeah, well, there's a proof of work and proof of stake, and Bitcoin is proof of work, and there's arguments.
It's a novel concept.
Proof of stake is actually interesting because proof of stake is more environmentally friendly because it doesn't waste energy. Because proof of stake is I'm staking my coins for a return, and I'm a consensus sort of validator, right? Whereas proof of work, you actually have to use electricity, right? So that's the difference, you know.
Right.
So there's an argument in the community. I know Ethereum's currently proof of work, and they want to move to proof of stake. You know, and people compare Ethereum and Bitcoin and say which one's better. You can't actually compare the two because they're two different entities.
Yeah, I hear all the time that Ethereum is better than Bitcoin.
But it's
maybe for transactions.
If you're comparing two different apples, like a Royal Gala apple's better than a Red Delicious, but you're comparing an apple and an orange. Because the thing is, Bitcoin's again a store of value, whereas Ethereum, it's actually built and designed for DeFi projects, which is dApps, decentralized applications to be built on smart contracts. You know,
think Ethereum 2.0 is gonna ever be a thing?
Well, then I think that's the problem too, because Vitalik Buterin, the creator, this Ethereum 2.0 has been fucking thrown around for as long as it has been. A lot of people
have a lot of money staked in it. I think that they can't get back if it doesn't happen.
Well, look at the Ethereum Alliance. Like you see, there's a lot of backers. The Ethereum Alliance is basically a large group of companies that are backing Ethereum because they think it's going to be fantastic, right? Which is great. But the problem has been with the development of Ethereum 2.0. At this point it should have been developed. And in crypto space, if you're moving this slowly, that's an eternity, right?
Yeah.
I still foresee this going in the way that I was talking about. Certain coins being utilized for certain things.
Yes, utility.
But then I don't see necessarily Bitcoin being the reserve currency, because I think you'd still have, unless you have a crypto that is basically a generalized token that everybody would use for daily transactions, essentially. If one stepped out and everybody went, that's the one.
Well, there's actually a country, El Salvador, actually announced Bitcoin as their reserve currency. There's actually countries that are... The reason I see Bitcoin as being a reserve currency is there's too many institutional players getting in. Again, the government's granting banks to be able to custody Bitcoin. Why would they do that? What's their motive for doing that unless they think it's something that's going to be big? Yeah, the amount of institutional investors piling in, you know, countries buying this stuff. There's countries that buy this stuff, like El Salvador's, you know, they want to operate fully on Bitcoin. They're actually going to build this city called Bitcoin City, where, you know, and they've announced that's their actual national currency. And there's more countries. Venezuela, I think, is next, and there's more countries starting to sort of, you know, say. And so I mean, it's a matter of a few countries just saying we're going to adopt this as our currency, and it's just going to spread, and that's what's starting to go on. So.
It's funny though too because you think every time a technology comes out, we go, oh fuck, that's probably the end of it. Like that's the last technology, right? And then somebody comes out with something that's so much better. We go, what the fuck?
Because you can't comprehend.
Because you can't comprehend, right?
Yeah.
But it's like
that doesn't exist.
when you start to think about this, you go like, where is the next step?
Yeah.
What's the next logical progression?
Adoption.
For money? No, I'm saying like
For money?
For money itself, right? I don't see anything.
Death.
What's that?
Matter
Death.
fabricator.
Death.
No, but yeah, matter fabricators maybe, but and
like
money
the-
doesn't exist anymore at all.
Death.
Like it's
Yeah, the
basically
death of money.
Scarcity's gone with
Yeah.
the matter fabricator.
because we talked about this on a podcast. We were talking about scarcity, and our debate was he was saying a post scarcity planet would basically it would lead to you were basically saying almost like a utopia type thing because there would
Well,
there would be essentially a UBI. Everybody would have a stipend of some sort.
Well, it
Explain.
wouldn't be like a stipend. It would just be if you want something, you can have it because there's no scarcity. Right? The only reason that money has any value is because there's scarcity. There's only X amount of anything.
Yeah, but my point and my debate on this was the fact that somebody still has to make all this shit, and there would still be a limiting principle on how many of X shit could be made. So you'd still have people that would be like, fuck, I want one of these Ledger Nanos, and they can only make 1,000 a day, or whatever the fucking number is. So there's a waiting list of 2 years for one of these, and somebody's like, I want it now. I want how much?
But that's not
you
a
got
post.
one?
But that's not a post. You're describing scarcity.
I know, but how would you get to post scarcity?
Well, you would have a matter fabricator or several matter fabricators. So it's like, okay, you want one of those. You know, like on the internet, Amazon or wherever, you go in and you click it. I want one of those. Boom, and it prints.
So it'd be
It
instantaneous.
would just print, or you
Why
would
not?
have
3D printing's come such a long way. You can
Yeah,
make
well,
organs.
well,
You can make
something.
you can make organs out of
I
it.
know, but you still need something in there. It
Yeah.
needs to still have some kind of material.
yeah. A matter fabric would just be like raw. Well, actually,
So how would that?
technically, I think physically you could just take energy and produce matter. So you just have to have energy, and so you'd have to solve energy, and then, but again, I'm
Then
saying
energy would be
post.
the thing.
I'm saying post scarcity, right? So energy has been solved, and so anything you want, you can just have. And so it's like what? There's an issue that arises. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Humans get fucking bored.
What
Be
motivates
like,
you
yeah, be like,
in that world?
That's what I'm
you
saying.
know?
So like, I want a Lamborghini. Just go make one. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
you just
good,
have
I got a
one.
Lamborghini.
But you wouldn't want a Lamborghini because the whole reason
You'd be so
anyone
fucking
wants a
bored.
Lamborghini.
I don't think
is 'cause
that's.
of
I don't think
status.
it's going to get to that point because I don't think we're going to be able. I think we're going to colonize a different planet at that point.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we have the capacity to sustain as many humans as we're going to have, and yeah, people are going to get bored. So the next thing is to colonize a different planet. They'll be the
Is
next.
to go out
Yeah,
into
yeah.
the explore.
There is something to struggle. Humans need it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
If
struggle
you-
is
so-
important.
And
So
colonization would be a struggle.
Yeah, you know certainty and uncertainty. Right?
Yeah.
It's like yin yang, right?
Yeah.
So if you have too much certainty in your life,
One
you
foot
want
in
uncertainty.
one foot in the other.
You have too much uncertainty. You need certainty. You have something good. You're like fuck. You just blow it up because you're bored. That's the human fucking condition. That's the monkey. That's the monkeyness. Maybe it's contrived. Maybe whoever created us or whatever created us, or whatever fucking way we came to be, that was the path. It's like the joke of it is, hey, let's make these fucking things that strive for things, but then when they get them, they're like, I don't really want that. I want this over here now, and then they strive for that, and they don't want that, and then they just get fucking bored. They just keep moving around and doing different shit. So if we lived in a post-scarcity world, scarcity, you
Rip
say-
each
you're
other to
making me
shreds,
say it weird.
probably.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
Scarcity and scarcity is the same.
I know, it's just like
It's a controversy and controversy.
controversy.
I've heard, I listen to one guy that always says controversy, and I start thinking,
A banana. Would you like a banana?
Yeah.
Why did you just say that word?
Well, or dana, banana. That's what.
Is it banana?
No,
Barton.
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 Banana.
We live by Barton.
Yeah, we do Barton.
Barton.
Yeah.
So that was our
Exposing
debate was
them.
that, and I said the only way that you'd satisfy or you'd be able to sort of fix that problem, essentially, would be for one, I think there would always be scarcity because it would take time for things to happen, unless they were instantaneous, which I don't know. But anyways,
or functionally instantaneous, like a couple minutes to get
no,
a
that
thing.
fuck. Look at you. You can't wait 2 seconds for something to load up.
Oh, it takes 30 minutes.
Well, because it's not 2 seconds.
I'm just saying.
2 seconds is
whatever.
fine.
I'm saying, but it's all relative, right?
Yeah.
2 minutes might be too long for Art to wait.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants it now, and he goes, "How much for yours?"
It would be okay if it was 1995, but
Listen, I'll put
Yeah.
your in my mouth. I want it. Whatever you got, man.
Whatever you got.
No, but what I'm saying is, if you put like robots on the planet, essentially, and they did everything.
Functioning AI.
Functioning AI,
Yeah.
it did everything,
As
so we could
functional
just
as human
enjoy.
beings.
it's coming.
The fruits of their labor. Right? As if, imagine everybody right now is working and producing, and that's why we have stuff in our society and the level of wealth that we do. Fucking imagine if all of that labor was just done by
I think it's going to be like
robots.
iRobot, right? Everybody's going to have like maybe a robot helper or whatever, fucking helping them out do shit, and robots are going to
But
be...
Tesla's doing that.
Yeah. I think
Which is crazy.
I think it's reality. Scary.
You know what's scary about it? Everything seems to kind of go the way of like these movies predict
Yeah.
predict
Yeah.
things, and they
Yeah.
kind of go that way. So like
Yeah.
when you watch movies like that, like iRobot,
Well, I think we have a subconscious intuition of what human beings will do with certain technology. Right? So like certain movies will hypothesize technology that just doesn't exist and can't exist, and it'll be weird. And then other times it's like, oh, maybe that could exist, and then it becomes reality. And then
blow your mind.
yeah,
Maybe collectively we already
that's
know.
not where I want you to blow me.
Oh, maybe we already know collectively.
No,
Like
can
we
see the
know
future?
everything already collectively.
Oh yeah, well we
know
are.
where we're headed.
Oh yeah, no, you want to
But
get.
just nobody knows the exact answer.
Listen, you want to get into the deep fucking metaphysical stuff. I think we are everything, and everything is us, and it's all one thing, and time is an illusion, and So
If you want to get really deep, I've also heard a discussion that maybe we actually are in a metaverse ourselves, and we're different avatars for someone else.
I think in some ways you can describe that, but yeah, I think that we
just keep diving. Just keep diving down
No,
this
I-
rabbit hole, man.
I'm 95% in the boat of the monkey is an avatar. You can call the occupier God or whatever you want, but the monkey is an avatar, and we are beyond it.
Maybe. Who knows?
I've taken a lot of psychedelics. I've had weird.
Who knows? Maybe you're on
I'm taking a lot of
something.
psychedelics.
Who knows, man?
I did it last week. I met an owl.
Oh, you meant owl?
I call him the clockwork owl.
Oh, I had a
his-
fucking weird
I was in
experience
his-
last night.
I was
Oh,
in his
tell me
work.
yours first.
I was in. Well, okay. I think I've been into this space before,
Yeah.
but I never really interacted with the thing that's there. And it was quite clearly an owl, and it was very steampunky.
Yeah,
Because it's fucking outlandish. But then here I was in this place speaking, communicating with an owl, and but he was like a mechanical owl almost. I would describe him as a clockwork owl, and I was like in his workshop, and he was like an engineer of sorts, and there was all of these extremely complex contraptions and things moving on, and it was very, very, very strange. Because he seemed to have some sort of interest in like my life and the structure of my life to a certain extent, but it was like certain things, like there was one particular thing, and like I'm almost afraid to put energy into it, so I'll be vague about it. But there's like one particular thing that came up, and like I expressed a particular viewpoint towards that, and he got mad at me. He got mad at me for that. He's like, "Don't fuck with that." He's like,
Did he peck you or anything?
"No." But he was like mad, and he's like, "Don't fuck with this stuff." There's like certain things like have to happen.
Yeah.
They're almost like destiny. Like certain things are meant to happen. And then there were other things that he was showing me. It's like you can fuck with other things that are less contrived, right? Less important. And so it was so fucking weird. This fucking
We gotta
experience
try
with
this
this
shit.
guy.
This sounds like a cool owl, though.
Yeah.
I think I want to meet this owl.
Apparently, we gotta try this.
What were
Like,
you on when you? I
Take some DMT.
I did little mushrooms with him.
Oh, fuck.
Well, sort of. It wasn't.
yeah,
I
I've done those before, so
Close enough.
I know.
Yeah, it's close
I know what those are like.
How much did you do? Do you know?
I can't remember. That was back in college.
What did I do? Three
3 grams worth of
grams?
30 milligrams of 4-ACO.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a little trip. It was interesting.
Mhm.
No. So the was it last night? Or I can't remember. It was last night. Fuck, who knows? And it was a night in recent history. The 2 nights ago or last night. I was falling into sleep. So like where you're still aware,
Yeah.
but you're like just about not aware.
Yeah.
And it was like my eyes were open, but I know my eyes weren't open. And I kept seeing like these weird faces, these weird like outlines to faces, but they were like like when you look at like a negative, a photo negative,
Right.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Mhm.
Where like and they were kind of like coming at me like this, and I was like, I kept kind of doing this, right? And I was like, so I opened my eyes and I'm like, fuck, and I could kind of still see it. So I was like, I'm rolling over and I'm freaked a bit out, right? I'm trying to stay calm, but I'm still a little freaked out. And I roll over and I close my eyes and I'm seeing them again. I'm like, fuck. So I kind of sat up for a second. I'm like, fuck. I need to shake whatever the fuck is happening in my brain. So I literally turned my phone on for a second and just to break the cue or whatever the fuck was going on.
Grab onto kind of reality.
Yeah, or something. And then I closed my eyes and I felt still afraid that I was gonna fucking see this again.
What the fuck is wrong with you guys?
I'm telling you, this was fucking weird though. I've never experienced anything like this before, but it was so weird how vivid it was. And I wasn't asleep. Like I was borderline asleep.
Mm-hmm.
But fuck, man, it freaked me out. It wasn't like it was benign where I felt like it was just like, oh, I'm just seeing some. It was almost like it felt threatening in some fucking weird way. Like I likened it almost to like what people talk about with like demons or something, but it wasn't like to that extent. And I don't typically believe that kind of thing. But it just freaked me out enough that I was like, fuck, I don't even close my eyes now. Just want to leave my eyes open now. I almost wanted to turn the light on. And I was like, be a man. It's in your fucking head. Relax. But it freaked, when something scares you, it's hard to be rational. Like you get the fight or flight fucking thing, and I have a heavy fight sense in me, obviously, as you know.
Yep.
But if it's something I can't tangibly touch or anything, ooh, it's like fuck.
So you're almost fisting some air, right?
Almost. I'm like, get me the fuck away from this thing. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
You have to confront it with intent.
Yeah.
That's what I found when stuff like that happens on high doses of psychedelics. That stuff like that does happen, and you can control it in a sense. If you I don't know, submit to the fear. It can overcome
Kind
you.
of consume you, yeah.
But if you can not be fearful and confront it, and just confront it for what it is, it doesn't. I don't know. It's weird.
I wonder though, because they say when you go to sleep that you have DMTs released in your brain, right?
They say it's possible. I don't know that they say that is what happens when you go to sleep, but they don't know when it is because it's so fast and it's so it gets used up so quickly.
Yeah, maybe I had a heavy DMT experience, like instantaneous type thing, right? Like a little rush of DMT type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. It was fucked up. It was one of the because it wasn't a dream. It was like almost like a vision that made it really fucking weird, creeping me. And what made it even creepier to me, when I came out of it, when I came out of the sleep to wake myself up and say, fuck, I don't want to see that. When I went to close my eyes again and saw it again, I was like, oh, fuck. That's what freaked me out more, because at first, it's the first thing, but why is this still happening? Now I'm awake, and I can't close my fucking eyes without seeing this weird, crazy fucking
something
image.
weird fucking happened. I keep meaning to fucking bring this up. Something disappeared from my apartment.
Oh, that was me. Sorry.
Yeah. What was it? You can't tell me what it was because it's such a weird.
It was
No, because what's weird is it's not something someone would take.
You sure?
And
It was your underwear.
Yeah.
And I did take them.
Oh, so you didn't.
I know because they were stained.
No, quite literally, it is a fucking an oven tray. Literally, it's not something you accidentally throw away.
Look in my oven.
It's not. Yeah, you're fine.
I needed it for pizza,
Yeah,
man.
you need it for pizza. I had two, and now I only have one, and I have no idea what happened to it.
Could have been that owl.
I don't think the owl would have taken it.
Well, you said he was a machine owl, like he was like a.
Yeah. Maybe he needed it
Maybe
as
he needed
a
it for a
part.
fucking
Maybe
wing.
Yeah,
maybe
a
he's
feather.
very peckish and he wanted to cook something.
Yeah.
He broke
Yeah.
off a wing. He's like, fuck, I need something in a pinch. Oh, I know that fucking.
I don't know where that fucking oven tray went.
That's fucking weird though.
It's of all things, right? If it was something like fucking of value or anything, maybe someone fucking.
It's
snagged
weird,
it,
but it's
something like
not that weird. It's like you could have misplaced it, or monkey brain.
But how do you misplace a fucking oven tray?
Maybe
Because I looked everywhere. It's not a big place.
So have you ever done this? I did this the other day. It was maybe a week ago or something like that. I took the cereal out of the cupboard, used it, put it in the fridge.
Yeah, I've done that before. Stuff like that, stuff of that variation.
Yeah, and then a day later.
It took you a day.
No, not even that. No, I found that. I found that soon after.
Oh, okay.
A day later, I'm coming from the washroom. I took a shower, and I'm bringing. I think it was an empty toilet paper roll to put in the recycling. I put that in the recycling, and I put my underwear in the garbage. But listen, I didn't know I put my underwear in the garbage, like the ones I wore, like previously, right? Until later, I'm doing whatever, and then I go to put something in the garbage. I'm like, what am my underwear doing on top of the garbage? Like, I didn't remember doing it, right?
Oh,
But then
yeah.
I had to trace back and went, I must have fucking just put them in there
Yeah,
after my
it's
shower.
alcohol.
I wish I could say it was alcohol. But what I'm saying, our brains are so fucking stupid.
It happened to me last weekend. I was making chicken fingers. I was drunk.
Yeah.
So I went to my freezer.
That's
It's in my
the
walk-in
excuse.
closet. There's a laundry basket beside my freezer. So I go to the kitchen, take the chicken fingers out of it I keep them like a Ziploc bag, right? Keep them fresh and place them in the oven, preheat the oven, and then bring the chicken fingers back and I placed it underneath my clothes. I lifted up my clothes and I put the chicken fingers underneath. And then so a few days later, I'm getting my laundry, right?
You got some.
And I fucking, what the fuck is this? I got a bag of chicken fingers.
Well, at least that's explainable.
man.
You were drunk.
Yeah.
And he hasn't, but anybody
Well, that's
who's
pretty
known you
fucking.
long,
Yeah, that's pretty fucking.
We've seen Drunk Art.
Yeah.
Drunk Art does some funny fucking weird shit. So that doesn't throw me off. I was dead fucking sober.
Yeah.
Dead sober.
I've done that though too.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
done stupid
Yeah,
things
but
like
my-
that.
My
Small things
idea
like
though
that.
behind it, or my thing behind it, my meaning behind it is our brains are fucking stupid, and we don't like. You can just lose focus for a second, doing one thing, and just you did something that's so fucking weird and so so not like you or even that anyone would do, and later on discover that you've done that and go, what the? How the fuck did that happen? Like you might find your damn
Oven tray.
oven tray
Yep.
on top of the furnace or something. Who knows? You might just look there and go, what the fuck? What would I have done that for?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I
I don't go in the furnace room, so if it was on top of the furnace, that's like
Then I
some
put it there.
paranormal shit.
Then I put
Yeah,
it
you put it there.
Yeah.
When
But,
I was gonna fix your vent.
Yeah, when you fucking
When I was gonna fix the vent cover
hole in
for
the
you.
ceiling. Yeah, no, that was a weird one. That fucking disappeared. 'Cause I never had anything like that happen, and so I don't know fucking.
Yeah, you know,
Or it could be-
there's a lot of shit that happens that's kind of unexplainable, but I find stuff like that's a little more on the explainable side. Maybe like you're gonna find it in like a couple weeks and go, oh fuck.
Oh, it's been months.
Really?
It's gone. I looked I scoured the place for it. It's,
Wouldn't it be fucking funny
yeah.
if you found out like Mike took it for something?
just Mike fucking has
You
it.
just
Yeah,
needed it for
that'd be so
something,
fucking
and he said
weird.
nothing to you and he just took it.
Just had it.
Yeah.
There's not even like a good oven tray. That's the thing. Like it's not great. It's been used.
You happen to be upstairs
for a long
we're-
time.
We're having a party upstairs. Whatever
That's my
you come
fucking
up.
oven tray.
Yeah. That's exactly like my fucking tray. And he's
That
like,
went
no,
missing
no,
months ago.
No,
Months
no, that's
ago.
mine. No. I just bought it. You just
Yeah.
bought that? It looks fucking old, pal.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we should probably end because now we're fucking
Yeah.
Yeah, now we're just
talking
fucking
about
around.
weird shit.
Yeah. Well, hey, like, don't just end it like you always do. It's always in a weird ending. Like it's like somebody's in the middle of talking and
And
he just
I'm
like
gonna
ADD.
fucking edit.
Well, we gotta talk about the podcast. So, look, for one, thanks for coming on and talking about some fucking cool shit with cryptocurrencies and stuff. And anybody watching this is probably less bored by it, because it's fucking boring. Honestly, if you like it, you like it.
Yeah. It
It's
is.
just one of those things you're into it or you're
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you're
it's-
not into it.
Oh, if it's investing in general, if you're not into investing, you're not going to want to learn about it.
But you definitely, you even opened my eyes, and I know I would say I'm moderately educated on the subject. But
Yeah.
you opened my eyes to a couple different things that I sort of didn't know, and a lot of stuff that I didn't know at all with the mining and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
which is really cool. But I like that you explained it pretty well. I think if anybody watches this, they'll be like, oh, I think they'll learn pretty good from that. But we should
very
definitely.
insightful couple of hours.
Yeah, for sure. We should definitely kind of plug our podcast now, since we don't do that very often.
Yep.
Yeah, well, hey.
If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the podcast. If you
Like, share, comment,
like,
whatever,
share,
all
comment.
that garbage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Find us on YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, Minds sometimes.
You can find him on the corner, on a street corner sometimes,
Usually Saturday nights.
Saturday nights.
Yeah.
That's
If-
usually where I am.
Yeah, if you need something else that you can't
You
get
need a
from
little
the
something,
podcast.
something.
Barton in Ottawa.
For great prices.